There we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Superfriendom Roundtable talk, where we're going to be discussing some of the changes that have been made in the recent Beta 2, of course. I have a lot of people here on Discord. It's all going to be hosted by Kai from Elite Week. And I just want to say before we start, if you hear a little bit of extra like reverb or like roomy sound than I normally have, it's because we just today started the whole remodeling of this room, and right now the only thing in the room is my desk, so I can keep this live stream running. So if there's a bit of an echo, just sorry, I'm in an empty room with a high ceiling. Not a lot I can do about it. But anyway, I'm going to see what time is it. Yes, I'm going to jump over to go and join Discord again. You're welcome to post questions in chat. I'll try to see if we can pick up on some of them. I can't promise anything. As always with these roundtables, I'm not going to be able to be talking to you as much as I usually do directly. But yeah, I'll try to see if we can pull in some questions, and I know Dongle will be in chat trying to also help me collect some of them. While the live stream is running, I'll just be running here in the background, just running some high-grade emissions. I'm a little low on materials, so I decided just to spend the time to gather some materials. So that's what I'll be doing here in the background. But let's jump in game, like so. And we have recording bots here. Okay, I'm going to join back on Discord.
Very, very busy buckyballing. Seriously.
There we go.
Yeah, we just see
everybody is now live.
Right.
Just
all right. We are still waiting on Plater.
Yeah, Plater's
we're going to give it. Yep, we're going to give it just a moment. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Let's just slow down.
Okay.
Yeah, look, we can just go on our own now. It's fine.
So now we have to talk about Kai, right? Is that how it works?
Right.
Gotcha.
Well, I've heard tell that he's American, and I was a little bit stressed when I heard that. I've set my carrier to jump somewhere, by the way. So in the middle of this conversation, in a rather foolhardy manner, I might suddenly, brain-wise, completely shut down more than usual because I'm going to be chasing my carrier. I'm going to try and catch it jumping in live on the stream if I can. Which, yeah.
Actually, it's not pretty easy to do. 2 minutes before it arrives, you'll be able to find it.
Yeah, we've had quite a bit of practice. So.
The signal source just appears now, rather than you having to be in the full spectrum scanner. So
okay.
There is that. It makes it a little bit easier.
All right.
I just want to point out something that's really weird. You know how carriers aren't meant to be in an instance with another one,
right?
I'm currently looking at 2 carriers in the same instance, where I have one that's 246 kilometers away. Huh. Yeah, it's a distance.
Yeah.
But you can actually see it.
Are they identical twins?
Is this one of those completely
so it's in the
overpopulated systems?
No, not at all. This is in TND, which is one of my faction systems. We're sat there, and yeah, you can literally see it whilst moving around. I've got it selected.
That's super interesting.
That's really interesting.
It won't be there for long because I've got mine jumping. So, but yeah, I can see it off in the distance, which is quite an interesting one.
Have any of you visited that system that has one star that like 5 stations and that's it? No planets, just stations orbiting the star, and all the stations are within like 200 kilometers of each other.
That's right.
Yeah,
yeah. Alec did a buckyball thing there, didn't you?
Pariko.
That's the one.
Pariko.
Yeah. It's the And yeah, so yeah, you can see both in the contacts panel. That is mental. With that fascination, I've forgotten to dock up my own bloody carrier, so now I'm going to have to go and jump.
Nice game.
Chase the carrier.
There we go.
All right.
I thought I left it. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Kind of.
Ah, god damn it.
Let's go ahead and get this started here. Close this.
Access approved. Land on pad 10.
I forgot limpets.
Classic blunder.
Always happens. Always happens. All right.
My carrier's telling me it's in a different system, and yet the system I'm in is telling me it's got my carrier in.
Yep, that'll do that.
So I'm guessing that's not working as intended. I mean,
Well,
I'm no
I
expert.
think it's the jump, isn't it? Because the jump lasts for quite a while. So mid-jump, I suppose they have to put all of the ships that are on the carrier somewhere. Like you have to show as being in a system somewhere.
Mm.
Well, if I go to the carrier management screen, it's telling me it's in 16 Lyrae, if I'm reading it correctly. And I'm not in 16 Lyrae at the moment. I'm in Ross 154.
And is it jumping to Ross 154?
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've jumped into the instance, and it's not there. But it's still about 6 minutes out from jumping. That's weird. Okay.
Interesting. All right, let's get started. I'm
Let's do
going to
it.
go ahead and start with the introductions. Ladies and gentlemen on the various streams, welcome to the Superfriendos Fleet Carrier Beta 2 Round 1 stream. This is happening on today, just looking real quick, 16th, Saturday the 16th of May. So if you hear this in the future, and for example, I don't know, on Tuesday, Frontier were to drop another round of changes, just know that we didn't have any information on that at this time, so that's what you're going to get. We're talking about this stuff. In attendance, we have Alec Turner was unable to make it today. He's very, very busy in the middle of a heated Buckyball race challenge back and forth with Osric, so he will be missed today. We have from the Burr Pit, Commander Burr and Reenie. Say hello.
Hello!
There we go. We've got Down to Earth Astronomy. Or I'm sorry, I said it wrong. I said it wrong. It's Dunkle Earth Astronomy Channel.
That's correct.
With us today, I think Dunkle Aura has given permission for Astro to join and speak for him.
Yeah, very generously I've been allowed to join. I'll be the spokesperson for the channel today. Oh, hello everybody, both the current and future people.
Unfortunately, you're stuck with me, Kai, from Elite Week. I'll be moderating today. From Galnet News Digest, we have Commander Wotherspoon. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello. And we have Commander Plater, representing the deployed contingent. Hello, Commander Plater.
Hello.
All glory to Ployd. Everyone salute.
All
right.
Lloyd.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay, so this is, our second get together for this, and as we discussed in the previous get together, we were talking about sort of our thoughts and everything with fleet carriers to that point. Well, we are now in beta 2, and we have some more changes to talk about. So let's start off with our thoughts of fleet carriers sort of as they are right now. And we're going to start this off. I'm going to be going sort of round robin. We're going to mix it up to keep things lively. We're going to start this one off with Commander Plater.
I really wasn't expecting to go first, I was waiting for me to know what everyone else is saying, and then with my slapdash approach, which I spoke about on Astro Stream, I would just be like, I'm just gonna roll with it, see what happens. But yeah, so the current state of them, where we are, which is what we're talking about, right?
Right.
I was listening. It wasn't that I was reading my chat or anything like that, and I didn't switch off. I promise. Now, the state of them, where they are for me, is I'm just going to basically reference back to when they were first introduced in the beta. For me, a lot more usable, a lot more appealing, just from even just the raw costs being reduced. For me, that is a huge plus. I will say that I think it should have been around the amount it is now at the beginning anyway. Just for me, that would feel more achievable without having to feel like you're having to constantly play in order to worry about the upkeep. Changes being of the reduction, I'm going to say reduction rather than removal of the decommissioning fee, because there is still a little bit of a loss. I think that's definitely a plus and a move in the right direction. Of course, I would still rather that it was completely done away with and you got 100% back. But you have to go into debt for it to happen, so it makes sense that you'd have to pay your debt, and that would be taken off the value of the carrier, I guess. But everything else, there are some tweaks that need doing, but I figured that we would probably talk about that a little bit later on, rather than going straight in for the kill. Well, at least, is that right? Are we going to do that? You doing that?
Of course.
Cool, because otherwise I'll just keep talking and talking and talking. So I'm going to tee up someone else. There you go.
All right. Commander Burr.
Yo! Oh, sorry.
Burr, and more importantly, Commander Rini.
Frankly, much more importantly, Commander Rini, to be brutally honest. Personally, right now, I'm generally speaking, I'm quite happy with where they are at the moment. It was, without a shadow of a doubt, it was a bit of a rough start, as we discussed previously, but for the most part, aside from a couple of little wrinkles and obviously bugs notwithstanding, I'm pretty happy, and I'm ready to get my carrier on in the main game, please. Honestly,
Okay. Right on.
You.
Yeah, I haven't got a huge amount of thoughts on this round. I've got a few small thoughts, but yeah, with you on that.
I can't see you because there's a massive light between us.
Blinded by light. I'm ready to get them. I just want to get them going now, and it'd be nice to get a few bugs out. But
Right
they
on.
do seem a lot better this time around.
Right on. Astro?
I mean, with the fear of sounding like a broken record, yes, I'm also pretty happy with the way fleet carriers are right now. If they launched in the state they are, I would be completely okay with that. Obviously, there is a few things here and there that I would like to see change. Some of them are things that I think I would really like to see that change, and I would be okay if it launched, but I would prefer if there was those things were changed. And then there's a long list of like the cherry on top kind of things, you know, like extra small things where like this would be really cool or this would be really useful, but it's not a must-have.
Well, we're definitely going to get into that for sure. All right. So, Commander Waterspoon.
I believe a couple of people who play the game who can't actually afford fleet carriers. I'm one of them. I like to sort of peer through the misty windows and see what you guys are all up to with your. Effectively, you have space stations, mobile space stations, and that's something actually pretty impressive if you think about it. And as someone who doesn't have a fleet carrier, I've been this week as a passenger in beta, traveling to Colonia. I got on a ship sort of a couple of days ago, fleet carrier. I'm now in Colonia. I needed to do absolutely nothing at all. If I'd stayed logged in, I would have passively acquired about a million credits of exploration data just by being on the ship.
Wow.
But I logged out, and so it's kind of like somebody else flies the ship for you. You can go to sleep, you can go and do something else, come back again, and hey, you're. The one thing I would say though is that with the new sort of 15-minute cooldown, so the 5-minute cooldown and the 15-minute jump time, you really barely have enough time to get off and scan a system before you jump again, and you need to be back on board 5 minutes before the ship leaves.
Otherwise, you get locked out.
You get locked out, yes, and you get left behind somewhere. And if you have a short jump range ship, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, for sure, man. So were you on Cervidian's ship?
A what, sorry?
Were you on Cervidian's ship, the one with Ant, where they went out to Colonia, or were you on the other one?
It was Skiffy's ship.
Oh, okay.
Guard frequency.
Yes.
And Teeth to Colonia.
Right on. Awesome.
Yeah. So for people who want to unlock an engineer by traveling 5,000 light years, there's no easier way of doing it. And for people who want to unlock the engineers in Colonia, there's no easier way of doing it. It's brilliant.
For sure, man. For sure. All right. My thoughts. Okay, this topic was meant to be a light topic anyways. This is just sort of, it's kind of a no-brainer from where we're already at. My thoughts are, fleet carriers are great. If they release today with no changes whatsoever, I would buy one. It's a no-brainer. They've already gotten so far, so close, so much of the way there. But since they're asking us for more feedback, how about we give it to them? And let's start with now topic 3, which is thoughts on changes announced on May 7th, the specific list of the changes there. Were there anything that were like sort of big surprises for you?
Should we just quickly recap for people like exactly what the changes were?
Sure. Why don't we actually start with you, and why don't you do the recap?
Oh God, I don't have the list in front of me.
I have it on the agenda right there, but I can pull it up and post it for you right here.
That's a schoolboy error.
I love your but Astro explains it so well. So here, if you look, here's the link right now in the channel.
What it really meant was, could you remind me what the changes were?
Yes, we can quickly remind you what the changes were. So the changes were that announced on the 7th of May was the fleet carriers will have the UC added, the decommissioning changes to the fleet carriers with it being quote-unquote full priced on decommissioning. Probably come back to that in a second. The fact that module and ship storage are now available for the owner as a core service, and you will still have to purchase the shipyard and the outfitting in order to get that available for visitors. Tritium consumption has been cut in half, and then we have the beta blowout toward the end of the beta.
All right, so let's start with you, Astro, since you're already on this. What are your thoughts on these changes?
I mean, I really like the fact that they... I mean, it's a good compromise. Obviously, they didn't want to make the whole ship storage, module storage available to everyone. Though I would still like to see that being split up as two separate services. So that I could potentially just buy ship storage and not the whole selling modules and ships. So I could buy those as two separate modules. But I think it's a decent compromise, allowing it to be available for the owner, because it seems like that is the use case that is most people are going to be using it as a personal fleet carrier. So doing it like that is going to satisfy the vast majority for the people who do want to give it as an available thing for their friends or just random people. They can go and buy it. Decommissioning. I think there's a lot of politics in the whole decommissioning systems, and especially with the wording saying you get the full price back except but again the amount that you get deducted from the full price of the fleet carrier is it 5% I think, worst case?
No, I mean, so the one that I saw, the test of it was they decommissioned it and it came out that it paid out 97.5%. Which is like, okay, that's not 100%, but it's clearly not bad. It's less than a ship 10%. You know,
exactly. So yeah. I think that's fine where it is now. If you like 2.5% is completely fine, and I absolutely love the idea of the beta blowout towards the end. It's probably going to be mayhem, but I think it's a great idea to give people who may not have the money a chance to go and play with it.
Yeah, man. Like, and then also too, from that with the beta blowout, it's like, this is going to give you a chance to play for it for yourself and tell us what you think. And it's like, I'm thinking to myself, no, not really. This is going to give Frontier a chance to see what happens when 10 million fleet carriers suddenly spawn. How fast does it crash their entire system?
Yeah, I think this is a wonderful stress test, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a nice gesture towards the community, and it gives them a chance to really stress test what happens when you have, suddenly hundreds and hundreds of carriers being spawned in a system.
Right. Yeah, awesome.
Win-win.
Burrs, give us your thoughts.
Right, so straight away, have you got anything you want to pitch in, Reenie?
I'm good.
Straight away, mate, I'll tell you what, the thing that got me straight away was that the fleet carrier by default now can actually carry a fleet. And I don't mean that to be overly sarcastic, but as the owner of the fleet carrier, you can now put your entire fleet on the thing right from the off. And purely from a completely selfish perspective, and I know a few people are happy about it anyway, but from a completely selfish perspective with what we do here, that's a game changer. That is a complete game changer, because we can now, without having to do any upgrades on the default carrier, we spend an awful lot of time moving my fleet around so that we can have a different ship in a different place doing a different thing, and having to move the amount of ships around that we've got so that we can film them and make the the news look a bit more interesting. We can just pile them all on one carrier now and ship the carrier around. So there were tears of joy in this household when that was announced.
Absolutely.
I was quite surprised by the tritium usage cut. I thought getting a carrier to somewhere like, not a complaint by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought getting a carrier to somewhere like Colonia was going to be much more of a chore, much more of an achievement. But it does look like now that you can basically just fill the carrier up completely, and you've got enough to get to Colonia from the bubbles. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be.
Actually, with some left over. Yeah.
Okay.
When Cervidian did it, he had enough left over that he could continue on a good chunk of the way towards Beagle. Like, not all the way, but a good chunk.
But you could probably reach Sag A, right?
Oh, he definitely reached Sag A, yeah.
Right. So yeah, I was really surprised by that.
And I know we got to get to your thoughts, because you very clearly had strong thoughts on the decommissioning. So let's hear your.
Yeah. So now, I think, to all intents and purposes, the decommissioning issue, certainly for me, has basically gone away. I was really surprised by that, actually, the fact that they've sort of gone, okay, you'll get 100% back minus, what debt you owe, or a small chunk of change. Because when you're talking about something that costs 5 billion, the amount of money that you'll get back if you cancel it and get rid of the thing is pretty trivial, really. Or the amount of money that you'll lose, sorry, is pretty trivial. So I was really surprised by that as well. They've just kind of gone, okay, this is clearly causing a lot of ire. Let's just get rid of it.
Right
basically.
on. Right on.
So yeah,
and beat a blowout. I know you got to be excited for that.
I can't wait. That's just nuts. I can't wait. That's gonna. I do not know. Well, I suppose that's part of why they're doing it is because I haven't got a clue what's going to happen to the servers when they do that.
I'll let you in on a secret. I don't think they do either.
Can I just ask Wathers a real quick question? Because you're saying that you can't currently afford one, Wathers. Does it bother you? Do you want one?
No, definitely
okay,
not.
Good. Cool. Awesome.
It's really good that things are going to exist in the galaxy. I belong to a squadron, the Hutton Truckers, and I fully expect to have a number of fleet carriers that we will be using for a number of interesting things. One of the interesting things will be a shuttle to Hutton Orbital. And I believe there's already someone set up at Hutton Orbital in the beta selling anacondas for 1 credit.
Oh,
fantastic!
Oh, but you can't sell them for 1 credit.
Oh well, selling
5%.
I'm sorry. I had to say it.
No, that's true.
Yeah. Clearly, it's 100 credits. Get with it, Wotherspoon.
that is the official price. Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Well, while we've got you dragged in here on this part, why don't we continue with your thoughts on point 3, as far as your thoughts on the changes?
Yeah. Okay. I think, am I right in saying that when you sell a ship, you get back pretty much the full cost of the ship minus a service fee, minus any debts you might owe, and also minus 10% of the cost of the modules?
No.
Okay.
Sort of. So if you just decommission a ship that has a ton of services, as I understand it, you get screwed on the entire cost of those services. That's a dumb thing to do. But if you first turn back in those services, you get, I think, like 90% back on them. And then if you decommission the ship, you basically get like very close to everything back, like 98% back minus the debt. So then it can go higher. If you have a lot of debt built up, then it can go higher. But yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah. Okay. So in fact, that's very similar to the way that you sell a ship. That if you sell them, if you sell modules, you only get 90% back. But if you sell the ship, you get 100% back off the hull, if you like. I think that's correct, isn't it? I know there was a point or is it the other way around?
Yeah, it's the other way around. You get your module price back. You get your
Because
module price, but the ship you lose 10% driving it off the lot.
I can remember Sandy San Marco trying to put in a 90% or a 10% tax on selling modules back, but there was so much of a fuss from players that was taken away again. It's interesting. It's interesting that you can now jump to Colonia on a single tank of fuel. And in a way, is that too easy? I don't know. But even more interestingly, of course, if you keep the tritium in your Type 9, on board your Type 9, then that doesn't count against the mass of the ship.
Correct.
Which means that you actually get much more efficiency if you only fill up the fuel tank with as much as you need for each jump as you go.
Well, and this would be an interesting thing for the Hutton truckers. The Hutton truckers could have 50 guys with a Type 9 parked on there with the
Yes.
with the fuel. So you could literally be operating as a quote almost empty fleet carrier, and then bit by bit coordinate loading it into the tank.
We certainly could do that. And of course, the capacity of a fleet carrier is infinite. Because as long as it's a load of different players going onto it, you can each bring your 750 tons or whatever it is you can fit in your ship. So yeah, you can, it is a space station. Space stations have multiple instances, so you can load an awful lot of stuff on there.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. So all this is really interesting. The one thing that was added that I thought was rather good was the ability to restock limpets, which I hadn't actually noticed wasn't there. But now that I realise it wasn't there, I think it's a good thing that you can, because out in the distance, out in the black somewhere, it's quite useful not to have to worry about your limpets anymore.
It was there.
100%.
Was it there?
Yeah, it was an advanced maintenance. That's what
Yeah, I think it's been there all the time, hasn't it?
So
Yeah.
I believe
Thank you very
that
much.
what Wotherspoon is referring to, and I could be wrong, I think that it has always been there, but only if you buy the advanced maintenance modules. I think they made it such that you can get it now even without it. I saw a thing where people were basically saying,
okay.
I think they were just like, all right, look, we'll just give you limpets. That's the thing that we just don't want to hear your complaints about.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong. I think that that's the case.
Perhaps I've only visited budget fleet carriers up till now.
All right, so Plater, your thoughts on the list?
Glad to see it. Everything on there is 100% things that should be on there. Can't complain with that. I do think the decommissioning is still a little bit fuzzy on details. It feels like it's not super clear the way it's explained, which I assume, well, once we know how it works, we'll know how it works, and that will be how it works, and that'll be fine. The fact you're not losing out on those ridiculous kind of tiered losses depending on how long you've had it and how far away it is, that's great. Definitely a fan of that one. The tritium being twice as efficient is again really good. That's gonna obviously reduce the amount of time that people have to mine to then afford tritium. So I think that's a good thing, because it's going to allow explorers to actually get out there and explore rather than go and be miners somewhere else because they want to explore. I think that's kind of the real key things in my mind that stand out. I'm happy that we get the outfitting and the shipyard as owners from the offset. That probably should have been in there in the first place. I do feel like there's not a huge difference for you purchasing the shipyard and then having to purchase packs to then sell to people, because technically most used car lots are just empty spaces with cars on and an office. So we've got the office with my car parked out back. Could I maybe... Anyway, that's just kind of a little thing that I would think would be... it's in there for consideration. The one thing that I do think has been, should really have been included that hasn't been, though, is the refuel rearm repair. They should very much be a standard. So I'm hoping people kind of give Frontier and Elbow this beta and say, hey, this would be cool, wouldn't it, if we did that? At least let me refuel my ship on my ship. As standard, that would be good. But overall, I'd probably say that I'm happy with the way things are. Again, like I said before, it's all stuff that really should have been how the initial launch went. It's kind of a bit of a Frontier classic. They score an own goal and then kind of be like oh no, it's okay because we've actually switched sides now, and that goal counts, and we've scored 2 more. And it's like, oh guys, no, please. I want Frontier to just. I really want them to nail fleet carriers. So
Fair enough.
it's yeah. I try not to be like, oh no, look what you've done. But you know, like you're killing the playing field and go, yeah, you scored a goal though. Good on you.
All right, so going over my thoughts on it. Fleet carriers have universal cartographics. Yay for the DSSA and the people out there that really wanted to have it out there to be sustained by the cartographics. Decommissioning is fixed. I agree so much with Astro said it exactly perfectly on his stream a week ago where he was like, there is some funky politics going on in how they explain this. And I think there's some funky politics going on in how they explained a couple of things. But the fact of the matter is in the first round of decommissioning, my exact thing that I said was, look, if you can't give us Mothball, if that's too much work, just do the exact same decommissioning thing you already have, but take out all the pain, take out all the loss, and call it something different. Well, they did most of that, so okay, I'm good. Module and ship storage are now free for the owner. I think this is a very important nod to the people who are sort of feeling a difference between sort of the people that have a fleet carrier that it's like, it's just me and this is my thing, as opposed to group play. If you're in group play, having to pay that extra for the shipyard and the outfitting and other stuff is no sweat to you at all, because you've got a large group and everybody's chipping in and money is nothing. If you're a solo guy that's out there just sort of scrambling on your own and you're the only one that's going to be using it, this feels huge. This feels like a massive bonus. And then just from the logical standpoint, as Burr so rightly said, having a fleet carrier that carries your fleet just feels better.
I'm not being publicly associated with logic. Please don't do that again.
On the Tritium thing, everybody is saying, wow, they made Tritium twice as good. I'm happy. And I feel the same, but I also feel like that's going to get changed next week to be 3x. I think they're not done tinkering, and I think they're going to find that sweet spot as 3x, and I have a little bet going with Dunkalora on it, so we'll see how that plays out.
I was about to say, if you're not going to mention it yourself, I'm going to hold you up to it live on stream so that it's kind of set in stone now.
So I have a bet with Dunkalora that I think it's going to be 3x. If it's not 3x or higher than 2x, well, whatever, we'll have to figure that out. But I think it's going to be 3x or more. He says it's going to stay at 2x. If it stays at 2x, then I have to buy him a Down to Earth Astronomy mug. And if it doesn't, then he's got to buy me one. And Beta Blowout, I'm super excited to see. I guarantee you that, well, I don't guarantee. I would be shocked. I would be shocked if the servers don't shit the bed. And when the servers, oh, I'm so sorry.
No,
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
It's just
funny.
the image of it.
Just imagine the carriers waking up in the morning and going, "Oh God!"
Yeah, I would be extremely shocked if the servers don't crash. When they do, just know this was part of it. This is kind of what they're testing. Don't freak out. It'll be back up in an hour or 2 or 3. And then it'll go back down and up and down. And this is a massive stress test. And I really, I completely support them in it.
I actually hope the servers will crash at least once during the blowout. Because that means now at least Frontier then knows where is the limit, right?
Yes.
And yes,
right,
it will suck for the people who would want to go in and play that we get a server crash. But for the stability of the live server, I think that's going to be an important thing.
It's an important thing, and of course they're thinking about the future and what happens when you get a lot more players in. How do we scale this? I mean, it should be very scalable because it's using AWS as an infrastructure, but sort of proving it, this is a great opportunity for them to do that without sort of upsetting people who are in the live servers.
True.
So the next question was, what's the biggest surprise here? I'm going to go first. For me, I called universal cartographics, decommissioning getting fixed, and the ship storage or shipyard being added. Like, I was like, for sure, these all have to happen. So for me, it's easy. The shocker there is that they moved the Tritium. What about you guys? Plater?
Well, right. So I might have 100% zoned out, and I am very sorry for that because I am being so unprofessional today. And I'm so sorry to everyone else on this stream.
Personally,
it's 100% on me. So
I think the one that surprised me the most was the fact that the owner could store fleet carriers, just because that I didn't see that solution coming. I mean, I had a lot of other solutions in my mind how you could solve that request, and I didn't see that solution coming. So for me, that was the biggest surprise.
I think a lot of people expected that they were going to swap the shipyard for the commodities market, right?
Exactly, yeah, or split it or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the burrs.
I think for me the fact that, yeah, like as I said before, the fact that it's actually now a fleet carrier by default. Like Astro, I didn't see that coming. I didn't think they were going to do that. I don't think there was even a hint that sort of thing was. Not that Frontier gives a lot of hints away, let's be honest. But I don't think there was even a hint that was going to happen, was there?
They did. Oh. They did say on one of the live streams that. I mean, I've discussed with all of you Steven's Big Tell, and he did one of those in a live stream like 3 weeks ago or whatever, talking
don't
about
tell Steven he does that, because then he won't.
Yeah, no. We're keeping it to ourselves, but. All right. So, Plater, are you good for what's your biggest surprise of this round?
Yeah, I am. I'm much more with it now. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm not. I'm at the point where I can't really make any excuses for it. I'm just I'm just all over the place, to be honest, right now. So anyway, right. But with the round changes, the most important thing I think, or the biggest surprise is how drastic like the reduction in costs were. I think that was quite surprising when you see 90% as a reduction. That's like, oh, that's a lot. Like, that's a big reduction. It really surprises you. And at the same time, Frontier are known for being quite resistant to change, and being and the reception of feedback being we hear what you're saying, we're going to pass it on. It is something that's being considered for the future. You get the kind of the very kind of typical lines. This is just we've heard you, we're fixing it, and that is like a yes, nice, brilliant, exactly what you want to hear. And it was really nice to see that happen. So weirdly, that was the big surprise, is that we kind of got the changes we wanted.
Yeah, I suppose they were. Yeah, they were.
That's a good point made.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. And Waterspoon?
Well, where do you mine tritium?
From icy asteroids, icy rings, and you can get them subsurface deposits.
Right. And what have they done with subsurface deposits? They have improved the subsurface displacement missile. So now you get 3 chunks of stuff coming out with each one of those. That was something I didn't expect to come out. I assume they're making it easier to get tritium. It also just possibly makes the subsurface displacement missile actually worth using, because it's a bit rubbish normally.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit less rubbish now. That's good.
It always has been rubbish. Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't even gone back to look yet. I'm going to, in the next, when this thing comes out, I'm going to spend some time playing with it and see, like, is this a viable thing now? Because it never has been before.
Well, because it's one of the ways of getting tritium, I guess it's particularly useful for people who are going to be out in the black, because you can now get from the bubble to Colonia without having to refuel. It's probably less important for people who are hanging around sort of the southern half of the galaxy, but if you're going out to the extremes, then it's going to be useful to mine.
For sure, 100%. So I'm noticing a lot of the questions that we've got coming up in the chat, and I think they're about to be happy because we're about to start getting into some of those issues. So let's start with point 5, which is stealth fixes. What changes have you noticed that were made but were not listed? Down to Earth, are you good to go first?
I mean, it's not. There was. Are we talking strictly the whole beta or just beta 2?
We could just take the whole beta. That's fine. I
mean, the one that I think, and there's also been some questions regarding it, is I'm not sure if it's a stealth nerf, because it's just the whole re-rolling of all the hotspots is what I'm trying to get at. I'm not sure if I would call it a stealth nerf, because it is just, well, they introduced They introduced Tritium, so they had to re-roll, but it was never clearly stated in any patches that they were going to re-roll the hotspots. It's just something that happened to show up. And I've seen also there's been a lot of discussions regarding the prices on materials, and I wouldn't worry too much about that, whether there's is a potential nerf for prices for some stuff like low temps, because I think it's just the market that are acting up weirdly, but that would be nice to see some clarifications on that.
Okay. So just real quick, I just want to jump in on your comment about the reroll of the hotspots. Just to clarify, this is from sort of a conversation that I had with Dr. K. Ross the other day. The way that it's not like they chose to re-roll the hotspots or whatever, but the way that the Stellar Forge works is you take a list of items, a list of the minerals, and say these exist in the universe at this rate, this percentage, this amount of this, amount of that. And then you just throw that into the database. You throw that into the Stellar Forge, and the Stellar Forge spits out based on a whole list of criterias and rules and like ages for the different stars and what kind of planets and what kind of minerals would kind of occur in systems with stars of that age, and then like the wear and tear, and like it's an incredibly complex system. But based on that, it spits out, okay, this planet is going to have this number of this, and it's going to have hotspots here, here, and here. It has all of these sort of things that it spits out. So just to be clear, if in the future, if at any point they add any new material, any new mineral, so in this case they added tritium, or remove or change the values of it. So from beta 1, if they had, say, tritium and said, okay, we want to have tritium at X in the universe, and then in beta 2 they said we found like there's too much tritium or there's too little tritium and we need to make it 2x, that is going to sort of filter into the pattern and change everything. So I think
the easiest way to understand it is to say, okay, so if you have, let's say, 10 different materials and you wanted to have 10% of each in the galaxy, you would just say, okay, every single hotspot just rolls a random number between 1 and 100. If it's 1 to 10, then that hotspot is material 1. If it's 10 to 20, it's material 2. And if all those numbers have already been rolled for all the hotspots, and you then add a new material, then you shift the whole list, and that means some hotspot will suddenly jump from one material to the other. I think it's something like that must happen. That's why they're re-rolling. They're just changing the what different those random values are. I think it's something along those lines. And of course, those random numbers have, as you said, a lot of impacts on the star classes and yada yada yada. Apparently.
Absolutely. All right. So Plater, same question to you. Your biggest like surprise stealth fixes or whatever.
They've ruined what is known as the Tyranny Warp, which is a way of dropping out of supercruise at my station, places Tyranny, where you don't manually drop, you get pulled out. But what you do is, because it's so close to the rings, and you can do this at Houses Reach and Rubigo as well, until the update comes, and you could just drop in, and what you do is you would shoot straight through the station in your ship. Like, you would literally fly straight through the slot, straight through, and end up in the back of it. And that's, we call it the Tyranny Warp, because you could then request docking whilst you're in the back, because technically you're not in the kind of exclusion zone, and then just pop through the back of the station wall and park up. And that was brilliant. It was like kind of quite an entertaining way, a cool little bug that no one wanted fixing. And that has now been removed. So what happens is, when you try and do it, you end up behind the target station, facing the station. So you actually get flipped 180 and you get dropped behind it.
That's gotta be confusing.
Is a real shame, because it was this cool little thing that we had at our station. It was like, look at this. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's being fixed. So it means they're doing a lot of fixing and improvements in the background with regards to some really basic gameplay, which is normally a really good thing. I just wish this wasn't included. But that's in there. And as Astro mentioned about the economy, It's impossible to say without people carrying out things as normal. But if you compare the galactic average of low temperature diamonds, and this is in-game, so not referring to Inara or EDDB, the amount is around about 10,000 lower in the beta versus the live. And it's important that I stress in the game, because if you look at it compared to Inara, it says it's 250,000 or 240,000, something around that range. That's because it doesn't necessarily take into consideration the same data. But in-game to in-game, it looks like there is a change somewhere, maybe, but we don't know without players affecting the market. So
Right.
it's something to be aware of, I think.
Just a quick
Something
comment.
to look for when it goes live. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I saw someone actually taking, it was quite a fun screenshot, where they took the same view of the galaxy map and where they have filtered to only show systems that were in Boom. And you could just see the number of systems in Boom on the live server were like tenfold more than on the beta server, which makes sense. Like they took the snapshot like 2 weeks before the server went live. There's 2 weeks of nothing happening, no interactions with the market. So there's not a lot of systems in Boom, and those systems that has Boom Civil Liberty, those are the ones driving the high prices. So seeing the lower prices is not uncommon. I think it's not. It wouldn't be surprising to see that behavior of the way the market works with Fleet.
That makes sense. Burr, your thoughts, or Burrs, your thoughts on that?
I think I didn't really notice any stealth fixes as such. The thing that threw us a bit of a kipper, really, if that expression translates, was that it made us giggle and cry a little bit, really, was that just that you can't, and this is just the beta, I don't expect this to make it into the live game at all, but just in the beta at the moment, you can't wing up with someone, and you can't get into multi-crew hilariously unless you're in the same instance already.
It's got to be a bug, though. Definitely
Yeah.
has to be a bug.
That's a bug.
That cannot be a feature.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. I'm not even sure if it's a bug per se, as it could be not a bug, but just sort of some weird interaction with beta. Betas are always weird.
Yeah. But I didn't really notice. I mean, literally from the time the beta launched to about now, we've pretty much done nothing in the beta except try and film carriers. As is our one.
Jumping in, jumping out, chasing them around the galaxy. That's about all we've done.
Chasing the same carrier backwards and forwards, and we trying to catch it jumping in. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. So I'm gonna do myself now here. The stealth fixes, things that I've seen that are like, all right, that was a surprise. I'm very glad that they added the ability to unsuspend services from anywhere in the galaxy. In Beta 1, you had to be in a carrier administration system. Now you can do it anywhere. So that's a huge plus for me. There was sort of a shadow nerf that we should discuss, and that I definitely want to get everybody's opinions on. It used to be that the jumps cost like around 100,000 for maintenance costs for each jump you do with your fleet carrier. In Beta 2, it's cost 750,000 to jump your fleet carrier, and your maintenance cost, that's a literally 7.5 times higher amount that they've charged. Frontier has, because they're still listing it as 100,000. Frontier was approached on it to say like, hey, what the hell? What's going on with this? And their response was, we're very sorry. That's a bug. It's meant to be at 100,000. It will go back to 100,000, no problem. Then they did a little mini patch or whatever to adjust it, and now it's at 150. Still not the 100 that they said it was going to be, but much closer. I hope you get around to taking that 50 off, or at least tell us it's going to be 150, so that what you say and what you do match each other. Similarly, the fact that they say you get 100% back on the decommission, but you get 97.5% back, assuming that there's no debt owed. I would just prefer it if they just tell us the truth. If it's going to be 97.5% back, I'm perfectly happy with that. But say that it's that. Don't say that it's 100 when it's not 100. So just make your words and your actions match each other. Super happy for the stealth fix that now remember from Beta 1, I brought up the point that you could filter for fleet carriers anywhere in the galaxy, but it only worked if you were docked on a fleet carrier. Now it works properly anywhere. So that's a huge plus.
Hooray.
And the one that has me excited, and the one that I think is going to give Burr a massive smile on his face, there's an AXI base in the Pleiades that has suddenly been renamed in a I'm not going to say what. I'm just going to leave it for people to sort of go and find for themselves or whatever. Look into it, you'll find it.
That was odd, wasn't it?
It's been renamed in a rather cryptic and sort of like waiting for the shoe to drop fashion. I think the name of it I find interesting. So I think that this speaks for like, okay, what's going on here that you're suddenly.
Do you think that was a hint then? You think they're trying to telegraph something? That's interesting. I hadn't considered that, to be honest.
But it wasn't listed anywhere, and they made a change, and it's like, what? Why would you change that?
Just so they changed the name in the like navigation panel, or how did they?
They named it what it's named.
Okay, because there was the whole, I don't know if you guys recall, there was like the Dav's Hope, which has existed since forever. There was a brief period where it was suddenly, like, it was still called Dav's Hope in the navigation panel, but if you actually landed on it, the sign above the entrance says Hobbs Hope. And then the sign was changed back to Dav's Hope. And I have no idea, never saw any official statements about it. Just like, what? Everything else was the same. So I just wondered if they were the sign that was changed or the name in the navigation panel.
Both. Everything changed on it, which is interesting.
So it's probably more intentional this time.
All right, and Wotherspoon. Those are my sort of lists of changes that were stealth changes that I found interesting. Wotherspoon, how about yours?
I find that question about the renamed station quite interesting, because one of the things that I'm fully expecting. Probably jumping ahead of myself a little bit here. One of the things I'm fully expecting is that given that the story of the galaxy kind of got put on hold when fleet carriers were delayed, I'm kind of expecting it's going to start up again. But let's see. Things that were a stealth fix that not even Frontier was aware of was CQC queuing from within the game. That's something that's been added in Beta 1. Which is kind of nice, because that's something that people have asked for a long time. It does mean that you can be sort of in combat in the real game, and then also queuing to go into CQC, which is kind of a bit weird.
Well, they've sort of fixed that. They have a fix in there where they're.
You get a countdown timer, yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
absolutely. So that's kind of good. One of the things I'm sort of surprised about, I wasn't aware of this because I hadn't really paid a great deal of attention in Beta 1, but in Beta 2 I have discovered that you can't plot the next jump in a fleet carrier until the 5-minute cooldown has completed. So you kind of jump, you come out of hyperspace or whatever it is, which space, and then you've got 5 minutes where you've got to twiddle your thumbs. I guess you can be looking on the galaxy map, but you can't actually press the button to plot the route until 5 minutes has elapsed.
Yeah, you would think you'd be able to lock onto the system. I understand the engines still need to spool up, but you would at least be able to say, here's where I'm going to go when the engines are ready.
Yeah. There's probably a technical reason for that, and it might be that it's still waiting for the databases to replicate, because, I mean, clearly there is a back-end problem here, that you're moving space stations on a pretty regular basis around the galaxy, and you've got to make sure that the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox and all the copies of the PC versions of the Galaxy that are being used are all in line with each other. So there's going to be some sort of database replication going on. So it may be that there's sort of reasons that you can't do that, but it was something on the trip out to Colonia that my pilot was commenting on and saying, hey, this is a bit weird. It means I've got to hang around for 5 minutes after I come out of jump. So I can plot the next one, which does mean you can't be 100% efficient. You can't jump every 20 minutes exactly. You've got to spend your time jumping, then you've got to spend about a minute plotting your next jump, and then you can start the next timer going.
That's interesting. Yeah. All right, so let's start the next round of questions, which is, I'm trying to keep this moving along so we get to the free talk period. What changes would you like to see still for the June launch? Let's start with the burrs and then go to Plater.
Okay, have you got anything, Ree? I'm not. Ree has very specific requirements for fleet carriers, and one of the requirements is that A, I own it, and B, I drive it. So she's, as far as fleet carriers are concerned, she's quite happy. I still want to be able to move. I got to be honest, I don't think it's going to happen, but I still want to be able to move tritium from the cargo hold of the carrier to the fuel tank of the carrier when I'm not there. I can't currently get a willing member of staff on board my carrier to walk the 300 yards from the cargo bay to the fuel tank, because that's how long it is. I checked. I still can't get a guy to do that.
But why is it general feeling that they're not going to do that? If there's enough noise in the community, which there seems to be, why are they not going to implement that?
I don't know that it's a general feeling. It's certainly my gut feeling. I wonder if I guess they don't. I guess they don't want you moving your carrier around when you're not at it too much. If they don't change it, I don't know why. But has anybody got any opinions on why that might be?
I just 100% disagree with you. I am absolutely feeling very high. Right? I think they'll change it next week. I think they'll change it Tuesday. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else?
Complain.
Anybody else on thinking that? Do you agree just with Burr's thought that they're not going to change it?
Yeah, I do. I don't think they will, because I don't think it's a quick fix. So it won't be something that pops up in the next beta, because it would require a UI change. Now, the reason why Universal Cartographics wasn't added immediately is because the UI had to be designed for it. The same with this. And also, are that many people asking for it as well? So Universal Cartographics was this real kind of poster child for changes that should be made, or how fleet carriers would be useless. And they went, oh, you're right, we should 100% put it in, but what we need to do is it will come into the next beta a month away. And it's there's a lot of different UI in the fleet carriers, and they'll have to design the UI, and they've got to find a way to put that in. It wouldn't be a simple quick fix, and I think it would be the same with this as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit different even than Universal Cartographics, because all transactions at the moment are between a ship that you are in and something else, be it a space station or a fleet carrier or whatever.
True. Yeah.
If we're talking about moving things from one place on a fleet carrier to another place on a fleet carrier, that requires an utterly different interface. And some different some mucking around with the database in the back end, I'd imagine. Unless
they just renamed in the database, they renamed the Tritium storage to be a ship. They give it that assignment.
Well, that's a bit of a fudge, but yeah, I mean you could have a workaround where you just say that any tritium on board the ship is usable as fuel, I guess.
If that works too, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, so, but there is some work to do.
Yeah, so one thing that puzzles me a bit with it's the only thing that's not remotely manageable. Everything else, the carrier you can manage remotely, but that you can't.
Yes.
And I could see, I mean, as Plato said, that having to move it from storage to the tank, it would require a new interface, and I see a much simpler solution. Give us a slider, exactly like the slider we have for allocating the money on the fleet carrier to upkeep. We just have a slider that just goes back and forth, like how much money, how big a percentage we want to allocate for upkeep. Give us a slider like that. How much do you want to allocate of your storage? Do you want to allocate for fuel?
Right. So you just turn it into an internal bank, the same as the money.
Exactly. If I want to push that slider all the way to the right and have absolutely no storage on my fleet carrier, and all of it is just fuel tank, because I want to go to Colonia and Beagle Point and everywhere else, then let people do that. And just to have it had a minimum value, so you can't drag it lower than 1,000 or whatever they feel like it should be the minimum, if that's what they feel like. But just allow us to take that cargo, and that would solve the whole transferring fuel, because then you just put all your fuel into the tank and it's already there.
Completely agree. I don't care. You can fix it multiple ways. You can fix it with Down to Earth Astronomy's suggestion. You can fix it with Wotherspoon's suggestion. Or you could fix it with a third suggestion that I haven't even considered, but just fix it one of the ways, for sure. All right, so we're up to Plater. Oh, wait, Bird, was there any other things that you were looking for to change before launch, before June?
No, I mean, aside from bugs being fixed, no, I don't think so. I'm quite happy with them, actually. I can't wait. Yeah.
Right on. Plater?
Individual ship purchase for stock and individual module purchase for stock would be nice, please. I just don't. It's the thing that puts me off buying ships to sell. Like I can't. For example, if I decided to do a deployed exploration trip, and I'm like, right, I'm taking my carrier out. Either you've got people that will be like, oh, I'll bring my mining ship, you know, and they'll just think of doing it anyway, so that we can top up the tritium as we go. And there'll be people who'll be like, oh, I probably won't want to do that. And then I stream, and people are like, oh, I don't have a mining ship though. I can have a stock of just what is needed to laser mine. Purely that and that only. And I'd be like, don't worry, lads, I've got your back. Yes, there's 100% tariff on it. Sucks. But I would have that, and people would be able to then join in, or be like, they know exactly what's there. The same way if you were to set up a whatever the new double hotspot, triple hotspot will be for low temperature diamonds, and you're like, mining supplies for sale. People don't need to worry about transferring a ship or jumping down there in their Type 9. They'd literally just be able to stock up on what you have. And that, I feel like, is a real missed opportunity. Now, I'm aware that Yamix had asked the question from Frontier, and they had some answers back from them as to why they've done that. And the answer for it is basically people might forget, or people might do it wrong if they're doing individual modules. And I think it's a bit of a naff answer, just because we're managing something that costs 5 billion credits. We manage all of our ships individually. A lot of us have individual ships that are built for one purpose, and then a lot of us also have modules spread all throughout the galaxy so that we can jump a ship down and swap stuff over back and forth. I think we know what we're doing.
So for these questions, for this round of questions on like what do you want change, we're all going to jump in with just jump in organically with, okay, Plater said this is what he wants changed. Everybody, your opinions on that. Mine up front on that is you didn't go far enough, Plater. Because even if you fix that issue that you just said, where buying things sort of as a bundle is crap. Even if you fix that process, the underlying structure of the mechanism is I buy this at 100% MSRP and then try to sell it to other people for more. That's just dumb.
Oh, I wasn't done yet.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm so sorry.
If I am buying modules in bulk, then I should be getting a discount, so I can sell them on for a profit at 100% of the price. Because
that's just crazy talk now.
I become a retailer at that point. You know, you can't tell me that you go to let's say Sainsbury's, which is a supermarket in the UK. You don't go there and buy a loaf of bread that they have then bought from Tesco, another supermarket, for the exact same price. You don't do that. Or why would you go to it and buy it at 200% of the price? Because I always set stuff at 100% extra. So why would you go there and buy it for double when you could just go to the place and Tesco in the first place? And I think that seems to be something that's missed. And we are buying directly from ship manufacturers. We're not buying from a station and saying, oh yeah, I'll just buy these and I'll take them with me. Like, oh yeah, I'll just do that. Nah, it's not what you do. You don't do your weekly shop and then pick up a few more things to then sell on. If you want to buy and sell in bulk, then you get a discount because you're buying directly. You're cutting out the middleman.
Isn't there then a problem though that you could buy them at a discount and then use them yourself?
Exactly. So you would effectively give all commanders who have a fleet carrier a discount on all ships.
Well, you say that, but then you'd buy them, but you'd have to buy them from yourself and I suppose you'd get the money back in a way. No, because if 100% was the you buy them at a discount and then you sell them. Hang on, but you have to sell them at a slightly higher price, for example. Then it starts to mitigate that. But even still, I've had to spend 5 billion credits in the first place. I'm probably pretty savvy with my money, and there's plenty of examples of shop owners who will sell themselves stock minus VAT because that's acceptable. So there's plenty of examples of doing that. You can't tell me if someone owns a convenience store that they wouldn't, have some extra for themselves.
Or even to make the point of saying, okay, if you're telling me that you think that I'm too dumb to do this right, and you give me the options of pre-packages, then make that an option, not a forced choice. So that I can choose A, to get your pre-package, or I can choose to stock exactly how I wish if I want to take the extra time and effort to think it through for myself.
Yeah, I mean, why shouldn't there be both options?
Sure.
It makes perfect sense. My parents have owned a shop in the past, and they were able to pick exactly what they wanted to sell, down to the number of a particular individual product. At no point were they forced to buy something else as well that wouldn't necessarily sell. And I think that's kind of where I'm getting at with the module packaging and things like that. It just doesn't. It's almost there. I would like to see it broken down and let us just. You could even use the same UI. You could just be like, here are the tiers. Click what you want and increase the number of individual modules. And I know that the answer that FDev said was, oh well, it's because we wouldn't want people to load up and have everything on there, and then when you get there, it's the wrong size limpet controller.
So what you're saying is that Frontier is telling you to blaze the trail they tell you to.
No, not saying that at all. I'm just saying that they think that there might be mistakes made that could be frustrating for people.
You see,
I think it's a mistake.
I would quite like to take it a stage further, in a sense. That if Plater knows how to build ships properly and he knows what modules are required, why can't Plater sort of order the parts, build the ships, and actually sell a finished product with all grade A modules in it as a package?
Here.
To anyone who comes along to it, that's proper premium added value, the sort of thing that you could sell the ship for a bit more for.
See, I wouldn't want to do that personally. Even if I know what I'm doing, I always say that I'm not an expert. But if I go, say if I want to make a roast dinner, for example, I will go and buy all the ingredients myself. I won't buy tray roast potatoes and do it. I won't buy a pre-roasted chicken. I will do it all myself. And that's not necessarily because I think I'll do it better. There are numerous occasions where I've burnt food. I'm just gonna not. I want to enjoy the process of doing it as well. I feel like for me, and this is just for me, that would be where I would lie. And at the same time, I don't think I'd want to serve anyone something that nope, that doesn't work. Sell anyone a pre-roast dinner if I was selling it, in a restaurant.
There's also the other issue with that, that is the fact that they would obviously have to be pre-engineered ships, right? So you'd have to go and engineer them yourself. Otherwise, that wouldn't be balanced. But
that's crossing a whole other line.
That's a whole other kind of worms. But the problem is, if let's say I wanted to go out and say, hey, I want to sell a CubeComper template, or I have this great mining ship, here's a template for it, but it's really designed to be engineered, there's a good chance that ship's not going to be able to take off the landing pad in its unengineered state. Because the power consumption is just too big because there's no engineering on the power plant. So
well, thank God we have remote engineering available on the carriers.
Correct, but it still wouldn't be a great experience for like a guy who says, okay, I'm not too familiar with building ships yet, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna build a pre-built, and then you get a nice new pre-built ship and it can't take off. The engine just doesn't have the power to turn on.
That would suck. All right.
Or very much say, what if it's crap as well? You've got that as an option. What if it isn't fit for what you want? Then you're going to have to make some changes to it anyway. Or you'd be like, oh yeah, I like that, but I don't want the hull reinforcements because I may do PvE, so I'd rather have the space, so it's lighter, or something like that. Then you'd have to be okay, they're selling them back. They probably want to replace it with something and all that kind of stuff.
But sort of in fairness, go ahead.
All I was going to say was, is this perhaps why modules are being you're being forced to buy certain modules in packages? And I can't for one moment suggest that I've thought this through with any great depth at all. So brace yourself. Is this perhaps why certain modules are being sold? Modules are being sold in packs because there's a danger that you might have a set of modules on board a ship that you could put into a ship that would then basically make it unusable, and they feel like they need to give people, newer players in particular, the option to possibly change something out.
Maybe.
Told you I hadn't thought it through.
Yeah, I feel like that's on the fleet carrier owner. That's their job to ensure that if they want to sell modules, that the modules they need to sell are available on the fleet carrier.
I honestly feel. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was done.
I honestly feel that the entire ship module selling process, from top to bottom, the way that the pricing on it works, the way that you have to buy them in packs, I think all of it's crap. And I think that the reason why it's crap is because we're seeing a half-finished product. I truly believe that the other half of that product will come in next era when we have player manufacturing, and you have now the ability to generate, you can manufacture fuel scoops of exactly whatever the hell size you want and quality you want, and then sell them in the exact numbers that you want. And I think what we're seeing here is sort of a okay, we're going to throw this out as a placeholder. It's only going to take us, 6 months or maybe 9 months now to get to it, and then we'll have it. Then they'll see that it's good. Maybe I'm dumb, but that's what I'm thinking.
But there could be another solution.
I don't think you're. Sorry, Astra. I was just going to say I don't think you're miles off there, Kai, at all. Actually,
there could be another solution. Just do a lot more of what they've already done. If we look at the package system, one of the problems I see right now is, let's say I want that specific module because I want to allow people to build a specific build, but I'm now forced to take a whole range of similar modules, different classes and different qualities. But what if they just made a lot more packages so that I could get that module in, let's say, 10 different packages, and then maybe one of them was like here's a good package for so I could mix and match a little bit more, so there's a higher chance that I could find the packages I would need, where I would get I will need maybe 80 or 60% of the modules in that pack. I mean, it would be a way to go. I would still definitely prefer to get individual modules, individual ships, instead of buying packs, but it could be another solution. Just put in a way more packs so you have more options.
And then the last thing, sort of on the ship selling aspect, the number one, the pricing is off. Number two, being forced to buy packs is dumb. Number three, the chance that you can actually, if you do set up an outpost somewhere out in the middle of nowhere where you can charge a massive special surcharge or whatever, and people will actually want to buy it because they need it way out there, you're still stuck in a spot where you sell 5 ships and okay, your stock's done, close up the shop, you're done forever. Like, there needs to be maybe some way, some mechanism for, even if it takes a week, whatever, some mechanism for reloads on your sales.
The dealer sends a Type 9 out or something with new modules on.
Wouldn't that be awesome if that was done by a player? If a player could take that mission to load up a Type 9 and fly 30,000 light years for a massive payout?
Fantastic, wouldn't it? Oh.
Yeah, at the moment, if you sell a ship out of fleet carrier, it just vanishes, doesn't it? It doesn't go back into stock.
No, it disappears. No.
So
100%.
There is definitely some scope there to make things more interesting.
Witherspoon, you're up. What are your changes that you want before June? Some changes that you would like for fleet carriers?
Things that are clearly the hunt truckers would love to be able to sell rare goods into a carrier because we have silly things we like doing with that. Our attempts to persuade Frontier have so far fallen on deaf ears because they still really feel that rare goods are something that you play with rare goods, you make a lot of money with rare goods when you're in a small to medium ship, and sort of stocking up 25,000 tons of Hutton month isn't really what they had in mind. So that's fair enough, I guess. It'd be nice. We'll still continue pestering them, but we may not get anywhere. I'm surprised nobody's mentioned yet the jump graphics. If you're outside a ship, you get this beautiful view of a ship disappearing. If you're on board, you get to see a progress counter.
Can I just jump in on that?
I know where you're going.
You know what I'm going to say there. I love it. And I'm probably in the minority, but I love that I get that people want to stand on the bridge and watch, and I think that should be an option. I think you should be able to watch from the outside, but personally, the in-ship experience with all the klaxons going and the lights dimming and your cockpit even moves, so you can kind of feel the acceleration when it moves and everything. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I love it.
I must say I actually did quite enjoy that experience. I'm just wondering actually if the reason they haven't included an experience of seeing firsthand going, like the pilot seat of the fleet carrier or the observation deck, is because that's something else that might tie into the next release of Elite, and that there may be opportunities in the next release to perhaps see some of those things, like get out of your ship and look through the windows and see what's happening in the fleet carrier.
Don't watch me because I might cry. Go on.
I completely agree with you. It's sort of the same thing, honestly, as my thoughts on Plater's thoughts on this ship selling. We're seeing half the product here. I think the other half is going to come in with Next Era. If Elite Feet is a thing with Next Era, I think you're going to have 3 or 4 key set pieces on a carrier, and one of them is going to be a bridge that is going to give you a spectacular view of the whole jump situation.
Because it's quite important that this is not the same as the jump you have in a normal ship. This is the inky black thing. This is like this is like a capital ship jump. It's the traditional thing with, kind of like, it's far more dramatic. You're ripping a hole in space time and the ship moves through that hole in space time. This could be very, very dramatic. I'm hoping so.
Yeah, it's exciting. Down to Earth.
Yes.
Your thoughts. What do you want fixed with fleet carriers before June?
The interface for setting prices and dumping cash.
Oh my god! I love you.
It had to be mentioned because the way it is right now, sitting with your finger glued to the plus sign for 15 minutes straight is not a good user experience. I'm sorry, but there are numerous ways that this could be solved. I can't for the life of me figure out why it hasn't been, why it is like it is. The only way I can see why they would do it this way is because they don't want to break the game interface, break the quotation marks immersion by having a keyboard pop up for console players.
So I saw this first mentioned in Plater's live stream. Oh Jesus, so far back, like
day 1 beta 1, I guess.
Day 1 beta 1, and then Plater said it so perfectly in the last round of our discussion on this, and then he said it again on his streams for beta 2. It's like, hey mate, give us a number pad. It's not that hard.
And also, it doesn't break immersion if you're on console, because how do you think console players type in names of systems on a galaxy map?
Yeah, sure. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, surely.
It's a non-issue, non-reason. It's just you already have the mechanic built in.
We don't know if that's the reason. I'm right now we're just assuming that is the reason. I can't.
I think I've heard it somewhere.
Okay. It might be that is the case, but if they don't want to do that, then design some interface, a pop-up numpad on the screen somewhere that looks like it's part of the actual interface. That could work. Anything that doesn't have people sitting waiting minutes to dial in a price. I mean, this reminds me, there's probably no one here who's ever seen it, but there was a comedy sketch made in Denmark that the Danish tax government now made this new app, and they made this, like, they clearly tried to come up with the most ridiculous user interface they could, like, as part of the comedy sketch, right? And one of the things were when you have to type in how much money you've earned, how much tax you have to pay, it was like a swipe thing on your phone. This is equivalent bad user experience. So I really, really hope they're gonna find a solution for that. As we briefly talked about it before the stream. If they don't, I'm gonna write a piece of code that's basically like an auto clicker that's just gonna sit and click up to a certain percentage.
Yeah, it's it. I mean, we've all seen Commander Mgrams from AXI, the video that he did where he set it to like the nice little bossa nova music, and it's a 15-minute long of him just holding the plus button. It's like 15 minutes and 23 seconds or something. I talked about it with Bruce earlier in the week, and A, they have seen that exact video. They are well aware. And B, they are absolutely giving it attention. So,
Okay.
fingers crossed. Look for good things. Look for good news soon, TM.
TM.
Yeah, but you are absolutely right, Astro. That is one of the three biggies for me.
That's my biggest thing that I feel like that must change, because
so
it's not game breaking for the fleet carriers. It's just really, really annoying.
Really, really annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. So two people already covered my two biggies. Two of my three. I had three biggies, three big things that I wanted fixed before the June launch. The first was move the fuel. Come on, that's just whatever. And yes, it's already all been said. The second was don't make me sit there for 15 minutes on the plus button. Fix that interface completely. And the third is, why am I paying a bridge crew millions of credits a week and they will only literally say, where do I go now, boss? And I say, one jump that way. And they say, okay, cool. And then I say, hey, you know what? Actually, I want you to just go to there. It's going to take 9 jumps. Hold on. Come back to me in 20 minutes and we'll talk. Like, that's just dumb. Like, if I tell my bridge crew that is getting paid millions of credits a week, hey, I want you to go to Colonia, and they say, I can't go that far. I can make one jump, and then after that, I'm going to need you to tell me, where are we going? And then one jump, and where are we going? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find that little button that says fire this person, and we'll see if the next guy can do a better job of it.
But it's a union thing. You know, they have to have their coffee break after every single jump.
See, here's the thing. You guys are European, so like for you, unions are a much stronger idea. In America, they handle them like belter loaders. They just throw them out the airlock and say, who wants to join the new union?
Yeah, they pretty much do that here.
All right. I got everyone down for question 6. So that brings us to question 7.
I have one thing, because
go for
it. It's actually quite interesting with the whole doing multiple jumps versus the whole fuel tank discussion we had earlier with if you could resize the fuel tank versus transferring in. Because resizing the fuel tank and also allowing to plot multiple jumps, I don't think we're going to see that, because I think what Frontier's afraid of is that you say, oh, I want to go to Colonia, I'm just going to increase my fuel tank to massive size, dump a bunch of fuel in there, click Colonia, go to bed, and see you next morning, or whatever, how much time it's going to take, right? So I think even if we were to see multiple jumps, we wouldn't be able to have a larger fuel tank, because then you would be able to do these massive auto flying routes. It would make the galaxy feel a lot smaller, I think. But if the fuel tank stayed the size it is, and you had to manually log in, transfer fuel, and plan the next jump, I mean, that means you could only do legs of 2,000-ish light years at a time that you could plot. You wouldn't be able to go all the way to Colonia, because you would have to jump in every 2,000 light years to refuel the tank. Does that make sense?
I get where you're going at, but the whole concept of everything that they've talked about with fleet carriers, we're talking about how you can be on the other end of the galaxy and you could just give them through this remote instructions. You could tell them what to do and they'll do stuff, and they're persistent and they're always working even when you're asleep, and they're across every platform, and that's why you're paying them millions of credits. For me, all of that, you're saying they're fully functional and autonomous, which is why we're paying them all the money. In which case, it just seems odd for me that they're fully functional and autonomous. They can sell ships, they can buy goods, they can sell stolen goods, they can repair stuff, they can throw limpets out by the thousands, but they can't do what I tell them to when it comes to just these two very specific things: go somewhere and use gas. That, to me, the fact that they can do everything else, it's just incongruous that And I get, maybe you're saying, yeah, maybe they just don't want you to have that ability as a game mechanic. It doesn't feel right to me.
No,
What about if you could queue up sort of 5 jumps in advance rather than like a whole long journey? Would you be happy with that?
Well, of course, it's a spectrum, and I mean, I've already stated, fleet carriers as they are now, I'm going to buy one. So this is just a spectrum, and anything on the spectrum, if you say, all right, do you want it to be able to do 50 jumps? Hell yes. Would you be happy with 25? Sure. Would you accept 10? Okay. If you only got 5, 5 is better than 1. So like
-6, final offer.
So, wait, did I just give back Louisiana? What's going on? No, but I mean, it's just a situation to me of, it's a spectrum. I think it should be all the way over, but if they have legitimate feelings why they want to limit that spectrum, fine, but maybe I'm pushing for more on that spectrum.
I really think Frontier's afraid that a galaxy is going to quote unquote shrink a lot if you allowed people to just auto jump to Beagle Point if that's what they wanted to. I just go on vacation for a weekend or something.
It's not an adventure anymore.
No, exactly.
They want you to play the game they have spent many, many hours making and putting lots of pretty things in. And it again comes the exploration thing. If the exploration is probably more about the journey than the destination. If anything, Distant Worlds and Distant Worlds 2 would have told us that it's more about the journey. People are going because other people are going, and they get some cool stuff along the way. And then when they get there, I've done it. That would disappear very quickly. You'd be like, right, cool, guys, we're going on an expedition. Everyone get on the ship. We'll be there tomorrow. Here's some sleeping pills.
Yeah.
Don't look around.
Yeah.
But if you do that, you're not getting any exploration data on the way. You're not seeing the sites. You're not doing any of the stuff. So for me, I don't look at that as shrinking the world, because I look at that as like, well, you didn't do anything there. You literally, like, you saw 2 systems. You saw the takeoff system and the ending system, but you didn't see anything in between. So I don't feel like it's shrinking the world. Like if we were in a situation where we had uncovered 70% of the galaxy, okay, yeah, I get it. But we've uncovered less than half of 1%. I just don't, it doesn't feel to me like the idea, and I've heard that before discussed from people, that the idea that traveling in a fleet carrier is making the galaxy shorter. It doesn't feel to me that it is, because you haven't done anything on that trip. It just gets you a different place to start your journey. Anything that's meaningful in this game to me happens in the cockpit of my ship, not in the fleet carrier. But maybe I just have a warped or like a different viewpoint on that than most.
I can see both sides, to be honest. I totally get what you're saying. I can see both sides.
But it is letting the genie out of the bottle. If you let people fly across the galaxy while they're logged out, then that'll be the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely see, no questions, it is a cheat or a workaround for the whole, you have to go 5,000 light years before Palin and Sadecki will talk to you. That I get, I cop to that 100%. But look, that's still a doable thing with fleet carriers regardless. But I just don't feel like, if I go to, I flew to Beagle Point. I flew to Sag-A, and then from Sag-A to Beagle Point and out to Salame's Reach and did all that stuff. And like, if I were to do it in a fleet carrier, like I said, I wouldn't have all that cartographic data. I wouldn't have all that whatever. I would just have the cartographic data for, say, DSO, and then again for maybe if I got out and refueled and stuff at Colonia, and then got out and did, Salame's Reach, so Beagle Point system. That's so okay. Congratulations, you've now experienced 3 systems. It's not like I experienced hundreds of systems between A and B.
I mean, what I think will happen is if I for instance say, oh, I really want to go and visit that nebula, or that I want to visit Sag-A, and I now feel I have to go and visit Sag-A, or I want to go and visit Sag-A, but I'm going to get the whole exploration along the way. I'm going to explore some systems because I have to fly there anyway. However, if there was a shuttle service with the fleet carrier just leaving once a week for Sagittarius A, so I could go and could see it, and I could be back in a few days. It's kind of like the same. I mean, if I had to go to the US I would take a plane. I would I would fall asleep on the plane. I would wake up, ta-da, I'm now in the US. I wouldn't take a boat or swim because it would take too long. Because there is a faster, more convenient way to get to where I want to go. And if I had decided to take a boat or travel with train or something, I might have experienced a lot of things along the way that I wouldn't if I had taken the plane. Or the plane. So I think that's kind of the thing Frontier is afraid of, that people are just going to go, hey, I really want to go and see that thing, so just going to take whatever fleet carrier is going to take me there, see the thing, go back. And people are not going to experience the whole exploration journey as much anymore. But I can definitely see your point that there will still be backpackers. That's my point. We still have backpackers who travel by train and go and explore the world. But most people are still going to take the plane if they want to travel somewhere.
I totally see your point as well. To me, that's so foreign. I would never want to do that way. If someone said, hey, you want to fly out to Beagle Point, or do you want to take this fleet carrier? I would never pick option B. But I guess maybe some would. All right, fair enough. So, just real quick before I close this one out and we move on to 7, because 7's a biggie. Does anybody have anything else that they're like, hey, I want to see this before June? Did we cover everything?
I think so.
All right, so we're going to start with the burrs. 7 is going to be a two-parter. It's a biggie. Number 1, what would you like to see added post-launch, so after June, to continue the expanding uses and abilities of this asset? And number 2, what do you foresee FDev to put into the lore narrative of the game going forward that will be
You're
useful?
lining me up.
Did I don't. What? Whatever do you mean? Your turn.
Kai knows I have very specific thoughts on this. Right. At the very least, post carrier launch, I very, very, very much, and I say this as someone who doesn't particularly go fighting Thargoids, but I want to see the Thargoids continue their whatever it is they're doing. They've completely stopped where they are at the moment, and I firmly believe, and dear God, hope against hope, that one of the reasons we've got carriers now is that we're going to use them as a forward operating base to push into Thargoid space. Finally.
I was thinking, so we have some... Sorry, I was thinking, so it's easier for us to run, but hey, each to their own.
Yeah, hey, you say potato, I
say... fight them. Just...
you say potato, I say hand grenade.
So yeah, I firmly believe is a thing that needs to happen, and I really, really, really hope that is what's going to happen. That at the very least, the Thargoids are gonna start up again and start being active and start pushing us out of areas we want to be in. And I really, really, really want carriers to be forward operating bases for a counter attack and for a move into Barnard's Loop.
All right, so that's 7B. You've answered the hell out of that.
7A. Was I not meant to?
No, you were. There were two parts, and you've answered 7B. Let's hear your 7A. What do you want to see after June? Fleet carrier. What do you want added or changed to fleet carriers to add to their?
God, there's a question.
Small one.
Go on, go.
Mine's quite specific. Can we have it? I know we can't drive it, but can we align it somehow when it comes into a system? I know we're never going to have it, but I'd really like to actually be able to line my carrier up a bit nicer. They come in at the most awkward of angles.
So you can get some nice lighting on it.
So I can get some nice lighting. I'd really like to be able to tweak the angle it comes in. I know it's never going to happen, but that's what I'd like.
Oh, I think there's no reason to think that couldn't happen. Just like under the management screen or whatever, when they add in the bridge, you have like a little gyroscope or whatever, and you can kind of align it however.
Yeah, just line my gyroscope up on my bridge. I'd be quite happy then. Get the right lighting.
That sounded a little. Never mind. All right. Yeah.
Moving on.
All right. Plater, you're up. 7A and B.
Okay, cool. Well, A, for what I'd like added, I would like some more precise control over the carrier. There's a few things where I'm a little bit like, I wish I could do that instead. Some customizations would be nice too. Obviously, we're all speculating that what we've seen parked up in those carrier vendor systems are going to be what we're getting as the visual options, and they'll look like that, and we'll be able to use them and apply one of them. I'm hoping that it's a full-on kit bash scenario where we can just pick different sections, all built around that core landing pad.
Just a little spoiler for you, Plater, you absolutely can. Tim slipped up and gave confirmation of that in the live stream a week ago. I'll link you the exact spot. But go ahead.
Fired. Yeah, he's so that's kind of exactly what I would like, and I think that'd be quite nice. Plus, I better get a bloody gold paint job for it, otherwise I'm going to be livid. I need a gold carrier to go along with a gold Corvette. It has to be done. It has to be that way. The Ploid is only drenched in gold. That's his thing. So that would be lovely. As for kind of the B part of it, I'm gonna, as no surprise, agree with Burr. So, I know, weird, right? It's really a funny one. I would like to see a reason to have them actually jump places, right? That kind of like oh, dude, you need to get here because this is going down. That kind of that immediate thing. And as a BGS player, there is going to be plenty of that, but there's going to be no sense of urgency. There's going to be no kind of necessity as such for BGS because it's quite this small little bubble. But that jumping over to towards the Witchhead Nebula, Barnard's Leap, and being like, okay, cool, right, it's time to go and throw down. That would be good. That's something that I would be well and truly up for. Of course, there would need to be some tweaks with regards to Guardian weaponry being available on them, and all that kind of stuff in there as well. But different varieties of carriers, different looks would be good, I guess. But yeah, I think that's the key kind of thoughts on that one.
Okay. All right. So when you said, just to clarify a point, when you said there's some little things that I would like to have more control of, obviously you've already mentioned on the ship sales and the module sales aspect. Is there any other little sort of granular things that you want to sort of specifically call out that you would like to see more with?
I would also like to be able to have the ability to buy and sell the same commodity, and use what I'm buying as stock for what I'm selling. That would be lovely. That kind of, because otherwise it's extra micromanagement, and that's what I mean. I want a bit of automation built in, so I don't have to micromanage as much. Or I set it up, I do all of the micromanagement, and then we get to sit there and watch it do. So I think that's my kind of thoughts around that. Is I want to kind of have a bit more, a little bit of tweaking. Maybe have purple weapons and gold paint job, like I said. Purple weapons, all about that. And let me use it in combat. Why not? It'd be horrific. but then give me a reason to use it in combat, such as you drop into a hugely infested Thargoid system, and from the get-go, it's an absolute poo show. It literally, things are kicking off all over the place, and your carrier is keeping things at bay. If you want to get off, you can go and join in. I would love to see that as part of the Thargoid story. Plus, Thargoid motherships.
Oh. There you go. All right, awesome. Rini, you had something else on that.
I've got two little ones that I'd like to add in just a week. Can we please have an option to change the operator's voice, because it drives me nuts. I don't like it at all. So can we be able to change the voice that does all the announcements? Can we have some little robot-y man? It's a very small voice for a very big thing that's happening, and I don't think it just doesn't feel right. And
let's also William Shatner.
Yeah, I want Wotherspoon flying mine. I don't know about anyone else.
or allow us to record our own.
Yeah. I just want mine to have. I want mine to have the voice of Ploid. That just as soon as I jump into any system, it says ramming speed.
If only we could actually do that. I would like to see some movement in normal space, not just the jumps. Because it's got to have maneuvering thrusters, hasn't it? It's got to.
Yeah. Can they sort of put some sort of engine stuff on the back of the engine so that when it moves, like megaships, they've got something actually happening with the thrusters or trails, or making the engines look like they're actually doing something. There's no impact of charging up, whereas you get it with everything else in the game. So I'm saying that as well.
You know what I'm picturing as you say that, Rini? In season 2, two, I think, two of the Expanse when they
Spoilers.
fire up.
Spoilers for anyone. Wait. Spoilers. Just anyone else.
Sorry. Oh, let's
Might
just
need
put
to
it this
mute
way.
for 5 seconds.
Yeah. When and this isn't giving away any plot hole story. I'm just literally when they fire up the big engines on the Novu, that's a massive burst of engine like that.
Yeah.
No story spoilers. Just talking about an engine on a big thing.
Sorry.
Speaking of which, my carrier's about to move.
Nice. See, it should be far enough. It's thrusters and trails and stuff. Engines.
Okay. All right. Down to Earth. You're up. So, what do you want? A, after launch, and B, story-wise tied into that.
Sorry, I just dropped into a nav beacon that a sidewide. I just rammed itself on my ship.
Allahu Akbar.
Exactly. Anyway, I have two things I would like to see added to fleet carriers. First of all, allowing the owner to set a motto of the day or message of the day kind of thing.
Oh god, yeah.
Because if I'm planning to use mine as a very, very public carrier, where it might be doing different things, allowing me to maybe post jump schedules or something like that, where I could post a small message. I mean, there's already a nice spot for it right there in the center when you dock. Some small message. I know user-generated input into the game that it poses some issues, but they kind of already allow it in Squadrons, so yeah, I don't know. I would really like to see something like that. In the more long term of the bigger things, mini carriers. A smaller carrier you can buy for less, that would then have significantly less cargo space, so you would be more restricted in what modules you can fit. I mean, the carriers we have now, you can fit every single service with plenty of room to spare. But have one where the internal storage space in it was so confined that you couldn't fit everything. You would have to choose, and it would then be significantly cheaper and less jump range, whatever, right? Something along those lines. I think would be like an entry-level carrier would be nice, I think.
Yeah,
So
maybe something for like... Oh, go ahead.
Well, so if the carrier that we have at the moment is kind of like the Anaconda of carriers, we could have a kind of Crate Phantom carrier type.
Yeah, exactly.
What if you had a little carrier for like 2 billion credits that could just do like, instead of having 25,000 tons, you had 10,000 tons and had just like you could have 3 services or whatever. That'd be neat.
Alternatively, just different types of the same size that we already have. So I could get one with more jump range and bigger fuel tank, but it had less storage for other things, or maybe some services were outright just not available on that carrier. So that you bought this variant of the carrier. Well, the redemption office is just not available on that service for whatever reason they can come up with.
All right.
Lore-wise, I hope that we're going to be able to see... Sorry for the background noise there. I hope we're going to be able to see more lore-related or more events happening further from the bubble now. So they could be like, oh, in a few days, as Burr also said, a few days something's going to go down in that area. Everybody aboard the carrier, because now we're going to get you flying out there so you can take part in this event. Because it will also force people to think about what to bring before they go to the event. It's not just going to be, oh, now we know exactly how to min-max the way out of this, because we already know after the event is launched, right?
Okay. I dig it.
I just jumped in on my carrier and it disappeared in front of me. Sorry.
It was like, I'm out.
That's 5 billion down the drain. Now go buy a new one.
You didn't know it. You didn't know it, but Platers actually had a crew infiltrate your carrier, and they've now commandeered it for the glory of Ployd.
That does not surprise me in the slightest. Okay, it's 300 yards to my right for some reason.
It literally popped.
God damn it, Plater, leave it alone.
All right, Wotherspoon. So your thoughts on what you want added to fleet carriers after launch, and what you would like to see story-wise, lore-wise. How would you like to see FDev give us some curveballs to use them?
Well, I definitely want to see some people with furry dice, spoilers, reverse spikes, some really tacky paint jobs, all that sort of stuff on their carriers. So you can tell them apart, and you can have a good laugh at them. I don't know. The original version of fleet carriers had support ships. I don't think that's ever likely to come back again. It seems a terrible shame that that's been, they were clearly developed, and they don't seem ever likely to come back again. But sort of let's set our sort of goals high. Let's say I'd like to see my fleet carriers being able to land on Earth-like planets, and I'd probably like to see the Panther Clipper.
Okay.
Oh.
Because Panther Clipper. That's something we've been waiting for 5 years now. It's got to make it eventually.
I think a Panther Clipper may actually sort of fall into the category of that Down to Earth was talking about, which is sort of a mini carrier. I think a Panther Clipper could conceivably be one variation of what a mini carrier would
possibly
look like.
But then you do need to. I mean, it's a bit like the difference between a planet and a star. There's a point at which it stops being a ship that you can fly around, and it starts to being a space station. And I would like something more you can fly around with. I mean, it's a long time since we actually had a new ship in the game.
Yeah,
in fact, it's more than a year.
It is. Yeah, it was like 17 months ago. When they put in the Mamba and the Crate Phantom together.
That's right. Yeah,
man. All right. So, and lore-wise, that side of it.
Yes, golly, yes, lore. It'd be quite nice if there was some lore. There isn't any.
No chill.
Jesus, Wallerstein. Oh my God.
It's been I don't know, sort of pretty much a year now that the Thargoids stopped doing their thing. The Guardians kind of stopped sort of giving us puzzles. Canon stopped getting things to solve. We were given interstellar initiatives. That was kind of good, and the interstellar initiatives were rich storytelling. There were kind of 4 of them, and they had things to do. They had some background. They were definitely a kind of something that brought the galaxy to life, and that let us kind of believe that it was a living galaxy. And then that all stopped at the end of last year, and this year there's been absolutely nothing at all. I hope very much that the reason that everything stopped is because the plot of what is going to happen in the galaxy is intimately tied to fleet carriers, and because fleet carriers were delayed for 18 months, we're now sort of in that fallow period where we're waiting for fleet carriers to arrive, not for the new era to arrive. I would be absolutely amazed if come June, when this stuff all goes live, that there isn't something new for us to explore in the galaxy, something new happening. It'd be great, and fair enough, Thargoids. That's great. Guardians at the moment are really just a source for weaponry. There's some more story behind them, I'm sure. But then also the Empire, the Alliance, the Federation. That's superpowers. They were at each other's throats, and then they all sort of stopped because of the Thargoid threat, and then the Thargoids went away, and the Empire, the Alliance, and the Federation continued to sort of keep their arms folded and, well, really don't care. It'd be nice to see some of that coming back to life again as well. And I do firmly believe that there is a story planned, that there was at least a 10-year story planned in the galaxy, and that it's simply been put on hold because it kind of took a bit longer to develop some of the assets than they were hoping. So fingers crossed.
So you think basically the story outran the new patches? Yeah,
absolutely, because
that makes sense. Yeah,
because the Thargoids sort of started attacking in the Pleiades, and then they got into the bubble, and they pretty much got up to Sol, and they were all kind of around Sol, and then they thought, well, hey, let's go back to the Witchhead Nebula.
It's just no fun.
Because the next bit of the story isn't ready for us yet.
We're supposed to set fire to this little blue rock but not yet. We gotta wait. Okay.
It's
back
like
up.
it's like any open world game where some big major plotline quest is about to happen, and then the main like the player that decides to go side quest for like 2 days, and all the NPCs are just standing around like, come on, guys.
Or also when you get those big MMOs like, you know, WoW or Final Fantasy 14 or whatever, where it's like you get to the point at the end of like, okay, we've got the expansion that comes out, and you rush to the end, and it's like, okay, and now we've just killed the big baddie on his ice throne, and now we look over here and we see that the next one we have to fight is over that ridge, and then it's like cut to 2 years later when they're like, and now we're gonna go over that ridge. Like, wait, you knew you had to. Why did you? Because they're like, we have a lot of programmers that have to make these zones. Just give us a break.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
So that is exactly why I want to have Wotherspoon's babies. I knew I had a bet with myself. I had a bet with myself that his answer was going to be lore and narrative. Is that still a thing? So yeah, okay. So I'm batting cleanup on this one here. So I'm going to do it backwards because I wrote the questions in a dumb way. Everyone's done it backwards because it makes more sense. What do I foresee FDev putting into the game? 100%. I foresee them unlocking some areas in the Col 70 sector. I think we're going to get sometime between June and, well, now I guess March, but probably around December anyways. I think they might just kind of do it on a similar schedule. We're going to see a ramp up of a story. We're going to see Thargoids hit hard, maybe some kind of a set piece of Burn the Bubble where they come and attack Earth, but without really doing any damage to the mechanisms of how the bubble works, or limited. And then there's going to be a counter narrative where some you know, we push them off and then we follow them back, and now we unlock 5 or 6 or 10 or 12 systems in the Col 70 sector that are way deep in, that you need your carrier to go in there and take the fight to them, and it's going to be a whole other thing, some whole new modes, some whole new interesting whatever. What else would I like to see FDev bring in lore-wise, narrative-wise? I don't think that this isn't a direct thing like tied. Go ahead.
Oh, you're just chopping up. Is that just on my end?
No, I think it's fixed now. Say something.
Okay, go ahead again.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, all good, mate. Yep.
Oh, sorry. All right, so as far as the other thing of what would I like to see, this isn't directly tied into between now and next era. I think that stuff with the Thargoids I just said was tied into next era. But here's what I would really, really love to see long term at some point, a year from now, 6 years from now, whatever. I would love to see us encounter an alien race that we don't just shoot at. I would love to see us encounter an alien race of refugees that are running away from the Thargoids, and that we have meaningful interactions where we're helping them. We're loading up our fleet carriers with supplies, and we're bringing it out to them, to their homeworld, to help them rebuild or to help them find them.
There is a theory that the Thargoids that we've encountered are the ones who are running away.
Yeah, the second variant.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, there's a name for it. It's not the
Origins and the Claxians. So
there you go.
Ones,
No, some of you guys have been with the game for forever. You have to help me refresh my memory. If I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure when Thargoids were announced that they would return, like years ago now, Frontier said that the way they would act would depend on our actions. So,
yes.
But I never really felt like we got as a community the option. I mean, at least me as a player, I never got the feeling that I had the option to go and do something else than shoot at them. There were shoot at them or do nothing. As far as that was at least the experience I got. I never really felt like I had a choice between active versus passive or like, yeah. But I agree with you there, Kai. Like having a more like we get in the what are they called? Not community goals, the other ones.
Interstellar initiatives with the Golconda.
Where you, as a community, make a choice between option A and option B based on whether you go to location 1 or 2.
Yeah. And I mean, it could literally be do you want to help them settle in a Federation preserve that has, one set of ideas on how they're going to do it, or an Empire one, or like, there's so many things you could do. There's so many things. I would just love to see meaningful interactions with aliens that did not involve DACA.
Mhm.
Or at least have the possibility to not involve DACA.
It could involve DACA, but yeah.
It could, possibly. But the way that you do that, because the other thing is, whenever you say that, people immediately go, well, good luck, because the first one that's going to find him is going to be Harry Potter, and then when he shoots them, now they are at war with us. And it's like, no. I can't tell you how many games, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, how many MMOs have it set up to where each person has their own personal reputation counter with a faction.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So, so I come across them and I'm a murdering jerk who just sets fire to them like crazy. They shoot me on sight. But Plater comes across them and he helps them out with food and water and whatever, and they're like, all hail deployed, we're now part of your auxiliary army.
Fairly certain that'd be the other way around.
No,
Actually, I've got to be honest.
compliance
Have you met Plater?
But I'm just saying that is that
Absolutely.
story-wise, that's what I would like. What do I want added to carriers themselves, just as mechanics to make them better after June? Number one, I would very, very much like them to be a part of the ecosystem, like I said, of part of base building, manufacturing, whatever, to have a lot of interactions there where you can use a fleet carrier in combination with some aspects of bases and manufacturing, whatnot, to make a completely self-sufficient ecosystem. I would love to be able to just take Burr and Rini and Dunkalora and Down to Earth Astronomy and Plater and Wotherspoon and say, hey guys, let's all go 30,000 light years that way. We're going to set up our own little hippie commune. We're going to have all our own stuff, and we don't need the Federation. We don't need the Empire. We don't need power play and all of that crap. We're going to make our own little hippie utopia where we sit around and smoke onion head and, write poetry or do whatever it is hippies do.
So this would be the way that the folks who went out to Colonia really imagined it would be, except that it won't be driven by anybody. It'll be the players who do it for themselves.
Colonia was that dream utopia of like, we're not part of your political BS. And then Frontier came out and helped them by supporting them, by bringing the bubble to them, which killed the dream, in my opinion.
Yeah, there is certainly an argument in that direction. That it's now too much like a small bubble rather than something different and unique. Yeah,
so that's one thing I would really, really like, is the ability to have player-controlled ecosystem where you're self-sufficient and you don't need to be dependent on any of the other stuff. If you don't want to be, if you want to make your own country for no one, you could do that. That's the first thing. The second thing I would really love, and this is sort of piggybacking on Plater's statement, but also sort of with a different eye to it, and a little bit piggybacking on what Down to Earth said, I would like more player controls over the carrier. When they first announced fleet carriers, it was a squadron asset. And then the forums were on fire with people crying because they're like, well, I'm not going to be able to get one then. And then they said, okay, we'll back off. We'll give you your own personal fleet. Everybody gets one. Nobody gets left out. And I get that. I get that. And I actually dig that. I think that it's good that they're player owned so that everyone has the opportunity to get at one. But that sort of took away a lot of the key ideas of the original concept of the carriers. And I would like to still have player owned carriers, but to reintroduce some of those controls so that you can legitimately have a squadron carrier. And what I mean by that is roles assigned by the carrier owner. It's still going to be a carrier owner. So if you do the Plater deployed squadron or the deployed faction carrier or whatever, it's still going to be, it's owned by Plater. He's the actual, each person, each asset has to have a physical owner, a person that owns that asset. He still owns the asset, but if Plater wants to say, I'm going to have these 5 ranks on my carrier, and this rank you're allowed to just land and do regular stuff like a squadron member. You have no special abilities. But this slightly higher rank, you can take a certain amount, or you can contribute into the wallet and take out, but within like this limit. This rank, you're allowed to deposit or withdraw from the cargo hold, but only, like you have your own little walled off section of what's thrown in there. This higher rank, you can access all of the cargo hold. This higher rank, you can actually schedule and make jumps or do whatever, like sort of
Like what you have
customizable
in
controls.
Squadrons today.
Correct. Customizable controls that will allow for, if someone wants to have a squadron fleet carrier, allow for that possibility. So the AXI guys or whoever, if Down to Earth Astronomy wants to set up some big thing for Terra X, and he's in the process of it, but he's busy at work or whatever, and Dunkelora is home and is available, he can text Dunkel and say, hey man, go set up this, go do whatever, and Dunkel can be like, I'm on it, boss, and go out and get it done. Like, I would love to see more granular controls on the back end that allow for, because I think the idea of a squadron carrier is a beautiful thing, and I think that you can still have one under the current system if you just make some more control widgets.
Well, it's certainly true that that the Frontier has been toying with that, because that's what they were originally going to do with fleet carriers. They were going to be squadron carriers. They've clearly come up against some problems, which might make it difficult. What those problems are, I don't know, but clearly, from our perspective, there has to be some issues with having shared ownership of anything, because you need to somehow make sure that one of the owners, one of the people in charge, doesn't go rogue and kind of go off and sell the asset and keep all the proceeds. So there's some stuff to think through. It's definitely something that could be done. It just depends on how much efforts are going to be required to do it.
So those along with sort of, I like very much the idea of I think it was Down to Earth had said that, like a message board, a message of the day or whatever. I would like some more customizability, and I would like to see added to the galaxy map when you filter, like, okay, what systems have a fleet carrier. I would like to be able to click on the galaxy map and it shows these two carriers are in that system. This one has a shipyard and outfitting, this one doesn't. Just so you know, like, hey, should I head that way? Oh, neither of these guys have repairs. Oh, this one's got universal cartographics, I'll go that way. Like, I would love to see, even, I understand that takes a lot of work as far as like, putting it in different languages or whatever, but you could do it with symbols. You could literally just do it with the symbols that sort of work for that.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. Now does anybody have anything on that, what I just said? Because if not, we're into free talk, where we're just going to start going through and look through these questions that Dunkelora has been pulling out, or if you see any questions from your streams.
I have one that's actually just popped up in stream chat, where people ask how we think fleet carriers will interact with the new expansion. And I know at least, Kai, that we've been talking about it, and I think it could be an interesting one to go over. I can start if you want to.
Sure.
And again, I know you have the same opinion, Kai, that the fleet carriers is a test bed for some of the stuff that they're going to add in the new expansion. We've just seen player-to-player trading with the market. They have been trying out a lot of new things with player-owned structures all of a sudden. That's essentially what it is. And we've seen Frontier do this in the past. I mean, we saw before Thargoids were introduced into the game, we saw fighters being introduced into the game. So where they would test how does it work having a smaller ship being quote unquote attached to a bigger ship, and then along comes Thargoids with their Thargon swarms. So I think this is going to be some kind of test bed where they're going to test out, not saying that we're just going to see fleet carriers without engines on surfaces or something like that, but it's probably going to be more like the idea of having player-owned structures. I think we're going to see a lot more of that if this turns out to be a success. That's at least my opinion on how fleet carriers will interact. It will more be a test bed for what's going to come.
And for sure, stuff like, we've already seen the exploit that, they found where you can sell things and then just generate a massive wing bonus. And Frontier is already well aware of that, and they're going to fix that. So, likewise, with stuff like adding in a new player, a commodity, Tritium, for the first time we have a usable commodity. I think they're going to see how they do that. and apply that to, okay, we're going to allow people to manufacture some stuff. With, see how people cheat with the commodity market and make crazy money in stupid ways, and then like, okay, we'll fix all those loopholes, and 6 months from now we're ready to roll that out. I think in next era, you're going to be able to go to anybody, even people that don't own a fleet carrier, are going to be able to go to any system market, station, big station, a Coriolis, and go up to the market board and create a market order. I want a buy order or a sell order for this stuff. You're going to see player options for, not people that own a fleet carrier. Everyone is going to have some option to access storage in some way, whether it's a small personal house or a rental spot or so, I don't know. But you're going to see that kind of stuff. And yes, this next 6 to 9 months is going to be a unannounced beta where they fix all the bugs so that they can roll it out smooth for everyone. Anybody else?
I don't think we're going to see that at all.
Okay. What do you think?
I mean, if we're talking about kind of what's coming next in the big update, everyone's pretty much on the same page that it's probably going to be space legs, right?
Base building, both.
And okay, the base building thing, I'm still reasonably sure that carriers are the base that we're talking about when we talk about base building. Elite Dangerous takes place in space. Why do we not have a base in space? And I think that's what it is. And this is my opinion, but it seems to be something that everyone talks about. Base building, base building on a surface of a planet. It's like, but how much of a pain is that? Having to land on a planet and take off and go back again, when you could do it in space.
And you really want a mobile base, don't you?
Well, yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah. Well, that you can take with you wherever you're fighting or whatever.
And if I wanted to store something, why wouldn't I want to store it in space where I can then just jump in and move it and then go and do whatever with it? Because otherwise, that's the difference between a space station and a carrier, is the mobility. And obviously, plus the added functionality of being able to store stuff. Both sell ships, both sell modules from a point of view. Very similar, but you can pick it up and you can move it, which is what kind of Elite Dangerous is all about. It's all about moving. It's never about staying in one place forever.
I've been doing it wrong this time.
Yeah, there you go. Just sitting there doing nothing. It's like, well, this is boring.
Well, not
kind of thing. I mean, you have a home system.
Go ahead.
People have a home system, and typically that's going to be tied to where their ships are. Unless they're a BGS player, which actually very few people are who play Elite Dangerous. They don't quite get the background simulation because it's a mathematical art form in itself, and it's that, well, your ship's where your home is. Your home's where you hang your hat. I hang one on my carrier. And I think that's, to me, that is home, and that becomes your base, and then you kind of go off and you'll use it from there. I do say with the space legs kind of thing. I think most people know I have reservations about space legs. How I think it will exponentially add more downtime to the game and will slow things down a lot of the time. But also at the same time, it will add a new kind of layer. And I'm looking at fleet carriers and I'm wondering how they would fit in to that, knowing that that's probably what's coming. Or it's atmospheric landings. I don't know what that would look like for fleet carriers, because carriers, they're giant spacecraft, and they don't move without moving, and I'm struggling with that. I struggle with that kind of, I could come up with loads of ideas, but it all sounds like Star Citizen or No Man's Sky, and that's what Elite Dangerous isn't. If that makes sense, it's this real kind of. It is a different game because the ships are the stars.
So seem to be, Plater, you and I are completely in agreement that the update is going to be space legs or elite feet, whatever you want to call it, and base building. But we seem to disagree in that you think that the base building is going to be all carrier based, and I think, while some of it might be carrier based, I think we're also going to see planet side bases and or maybe, an asteroid base or something that's floating in orbit somewhere.
Which
We'll
is
see.
a really good point. It
I mean,
does
we'll see.
actually sound credible.
I mean,
Okay. So go ahead.
About a year or is it a year and a half or something back, Frontier put up a position. They were looking for some guy who could who would be able to help them write some AI or some bot to drive vehicles around planets in a system with over 4 billion star systems.
Yep.
We're gonna see some activity on planet services next era, unless they've decided now, that was quite a bit of time ago, they decided to go a completely different route.
No, I totally agree. I mean, we only have the SRV at the moment. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more than that. I'm sure we're going to have NPCs on the ground. But that may not be the whole story. It may be that our bases are in space. That actually rings very true to me.
Yeah, I mean, both. I think what we're going to see is a spectrum of all of the above. I think we're going to see some stuff added to fleet carriers. We're going to see set pieces and the ability to add some stuff and do stuff with them. I think we're going to see, likewise, abilities on planet sides and abilities for small, sort of a player-owned sort of personal shoebox. And it's like, well, why would you want that doesn't go anywhere? And it's like, well, because it's tied to this asteroid ring where it's getting resources, or this planet where it's pulling, resources, or this place where it's manufacturing a thing.
If you're mining, that would make sense. Yes, definitely.
Or even for manufacturing. If you're manufacturing something, you're going to want it to be sort of plucked down close to the resource gathering site, so that it's like you gather the resources from A, you ship it over to B, you take that along with the blueprint to make product C.
And one thing I wanted to kind of mention as well is with the idea of things being manufactured, and we're seeing player-to-player trading, but we're not seeing a player economy yet. The only way for us to have a player economy as such would be to completely ditch NPC markets, apart from bare essentials. So we're talking you need some hydrogen, or you need some scrap metal, bare essentials, where it's kind of think to World of Warcraft, right? Where you want to do enchanting, you have to buy the bits and bobs to make your enchanting rod before you go off and you do it. But then once you're doing it, that's it. Everything else is obtained from the world. You make it, you sell it to other players, or you use it yourself. And I would be okay with that. I would be okay for there to be okay, this is the stock that we have here. Stations suddenly get set with having stock levels of different stuff. Okay, you can buy it from them, but once you bought it from them, the only way for it to be replaced is for a player to then go and sell it, or fulfill a purchase order that the station have put up in the mission board. There you go, you do your mining, you take it back. That would be incredible to me. I'm totally up for that. How would that work with what we all have so far, with regards to what ships we have and all that kind of stuff? It'd be mad, incredible to see. I think a really interesting idea.
Either that, or an alternative would be all of the same stuff is still available from NPC stations, but it's set up in such a way that you can buy this fuel scoop from an NPC station and it's going to cost you 800,000 credits. The same thing would be manufacturable such that a player would probably be selling it for 300,000 credits, in which case people would, even though it's still available everywhere, they would be hunting out other players to buy from because you're getting a better price.
Or have a mixture where you have a small number of NPCs automatically restocking, but on a very slow schedule. So, if you want to do it in a sensible time, you get players to boost that.
Yeah. I mean, you have a certain amount of that in EVE already, where if you go inside of all of the trading in EVE pretty much happens. Most of it happens at Jitta, but it's the stuff. If you buy stuff out in nullsec, you can get most things so much cheaper because it's this is the spot where you go to, but it takes the effort to go out and find it where the players are sort of out there doing it. If you pay the premium if you want to go just buy it So I'm seeing here a question. When will this release for PS4? So if you're talking about the fleet carrier expansion itself or update itself, it is not listed yet exactly when, other than to say sometime in June. So, so my guess is it's going to be June, the second Tuesday, which is June. Let me just look to make sure. The thing that I've been saying is I think it's going to be June the 16th. I wouldn't be shocked if it's the 23rd, but
I think it's going to be toward the end of June, because so far they've been doing, like, they're fixing all the major stuff. Like they've tweaked upkeep, they've added some things here and there, UC and all that stuff. Now comes the sit and polish out all the small bugs. Like when you sell something to the fleet carrier market, it doesn't always remove it from the. It doesn't show that it's been removed from your cargo hold right away. It takes like a minute or something. Like there's some like minor things, some buttons that are not completely working as they should always here and there. Those kind of things, and that takes time. That takes a lot of time to fix small bugs like that.
So looking through some of these other questions here, I'm seeing the fuel transfer. We've already addressed that. Will the hotspots persist from beta to the live game? We've already addressed that. They will absolutely change every time the amounts this stuff is.
They may stay the same unless they rebalance the amount of tritium available. So we can't be sure either way, really.
No.
But keep your fingers crossed. It might do.
Yeah, they will change anytime they change what's there or the amount there. So if they change the amount, it'll change. If the amount is the same, then it may be the same.
But I have one comment though to that.
Sure.
For all the people out there who are now sitting thinking, "Oh no, what am I gonna do after the June update? Where I'm gonna get my 200 low temperature diamonds per hour?" There are already people working on mapping all overlapping hotspots regardless of type. So we have a list of where do we have triple overlaps, and then as soon as the patch hits, just run to all those spots and check if any of them are triple. So, I mean, yes, right after launch, you probably won't be able to go out and have your usual gold mining spot or whatever, but give it a week, max 2, then we're back in business, I think.
Completely agree. So to the question, will there be passive income from NPC interaction? The answer is no. The NPCs that you see, that's just window dressing. They land and they take off, but they don't in any way really interact with your fleet carrier. To the question, just a thought, squadron-based NPCs, what basically, to sum up this question is, what happens if we have a bunch of our ships on a fleet carrier and then it gets decommissioned? They've already answered in the announcement. What happens in that case is your ships will all still be ready to transfer off. You can't go to the fleet carrier because it's not a thing anymore, but your ships will be there, so you can just go to any other station, click the button, and you can all choose to transfer your ships off. They will not go away. They will be safe.
Same with modules. It's worth mentioning.
Yes. Can we use the commodity market as personal storage for items? No, you cannot, because the commodity market, literally, when you buy stuff and it goes in the commodity market, when the person puts in a buy order, that segments out both that amount of money to pay for the thing and also the amount of space. So it's still going in the same storage. There's no loophole to use that as a second extra hidden storage. That's all going into your regular storage. I'm looking over here. Does anybody have any questions that are jumping out to them? I'm just trying to get at a lot of them.
No, oops, I'm about to flinch with stuff. There's a question about, let me see here, is bigger player instances a must for the next paid expansion, especially with the new fleet carriers? It's not a must, no. It would be nice to see, I think, but I don't think, we don't know what exactly it's going to be in the next update, so we can't say whether it's going to be a must for that update. But with fleet carriers as they are now, no. Because fleet carriers are persistent across instances, even across platform, it's not necessarily necessary to increase the size of or the performance of player instances, even though I would like to see it.
Do you think they should add a fleet carrier tax in certain systems?
Yeah.
For example, if you want to park in Baran, the BGS faction of the system being entitled to a kickback. I think if you suggest anything else that will add a cost to fleet carriers, you are going to get shot. So I would recommend you don't say it too loudly. If you have the thought, maybe keep it to yourself.
We actually had a
charge.
we had a fun little discussion here before the stream where Plater, you wanted to get into one of the systems with a administration service, but there were no room because they were just filled up with fleet carriers. And to which point I said, well, I have a fleet carrier and a system with administration service. I can move mine. You can get the spot for a fee.
I'll pay you after I've got the spot.
Okay, that's how it works. Okay.
Yeah.
So for everyone who is wondering about that thing that I mentioned where Frontier sort of slipped up and they actually said that, yes, the liveries are going to be the ones that you see around there as we've been suspecting. I linked it in the chat so all of your people can put it in their respective chats and you can see that. And then obviously they're well aware of the wing exploit on the market, and you can expect that to be closed. They're well aware of the problem of spending 15 minutes to add pluses to make a price, and all I can say is you can expect that to get attention. I can't say that they'll do anything about it, but
I say, actually, can I mention something quickly on the instancing thing that we were talking about? So obviously, without knowing what the new update looks like, so you can't answer if it needs improving. It needs improving, full stop. Always has done. Something they've done with carriers is they have limited the instance size to 16 around them. You cannot get more than 16 ships in a carrier instance until they start despawning for each other and disappearing and popping in and out. And that is intentional because of the 16 landing pads. So obviously, if 16 people turn up with anacondas, what you do? It's a bit of a weird one, but yeah, that's a
musical landing pads.
Musical landing pads, yeah. Well, you've got to go in and transfer into a different ship and buy one of my overpriced haulers that I've got.
Or just wait until other people land, and then
It doesn't seem like a great idea for me because it put a bit of a non-start on the event that I did for my squadron at the end of the last beta. Where it's like, everyone get in, and then people are like, I can't see this person. Oh, you just disappeared. Or we're fighting each other and you're getting shot from nowhere. It's like, what's going on with that? That's a bit of a funny one. I don't think that needs to happen. I understand it, but you can't. I mean, is it limited around space stations that you can only have so many people near a space station to? I don't think it is, apart from the usual limit, which.
Well, there's 45 landing pads, so realistically, that's pretty much the instance limit anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'd like to see that improved.
But just looking at that for a moment, like, it doesn't seem like I'm wondering what the problem is with that. Like, if you say, okay, I want to get everybody get in, and you've got 300 ploiters that are looking to get in, they can all just get in under different instances. You make the jump, you get out, and then you sort out who's what and try to instance them together after you get away from the carrier, right?
Yeah, but we want to hang out around the carrier.
Right. Okay.
But we can't. And that was the issue with what we were doing last time, is that it was the case of right, I'm selling sidewinders with limited modules, everyone get involved, buy your modules, get kitted out, you snooze, you lose, you may end up with absolute crap. Then we're going to go just outside of the no-fire zone, and then we're going to start blowing each other up. And we'll respawn on the carrier, and then we'll get back involved. And the idea kind of being is that you would be able to upgrade things as you needed, but limited supply. And eventually, you could end up being sat there stuck in your stock sidewinder because you can't upgrade. And then we'd go and kill each other. The problem was that some of us were there, some of us weren't. Some of us were there, then we disappeared.
Fair enough.
So that was the issue with that. And it's kind of like, again, if landing pads run out, tough luck, you have to wait until one's free. That kind of thing was in there as well, but obviously it just didn't work.
Okay, interesting. Hey, one last thing that I want to ask. I want to ask everyone before people start dropping and we lose people. Please, everyone that's hearing my voice right now on whatever different stream, in respect of our brother Alec Turner and all of our buckyballing brothers and sisters out there, go to the forums, say it wherever you say it. If you say it in Discord, say it wherever. Please ask that one other change be made that they put in before the June launch. put back the date and timestamp on the station services menu when you land on a fleet carrier, so that way, and for any of the stations really, because it's been taken out with the new adjustment. So as of launch, if they don't fix that, the Buckyballers no longer have any way to do their correct timestamps for their races.
Yeah,
So
they're completely knackered, aren't they?
I just want to check, like, we're saying where it isn't, because I'm on a carrier at the moment, and I've just gone into the carrier menu,
Okay.
like the first one, and we've got the time and the date on there.
So on the top right, or you're no, I'm talking about when you first land on a carrier. Station services.
We should go to carrier services, you mean?
No, so station, like when you first land a ship as a guest, not going into the sub menus or whatever, but just say you as a guest land on a fleet carrier or any station. When you land on the docking pad, on the current system in the live base of the game, in the very center where you have on there your options of stuff, it has the date and time. On the one that you can see in the beta, it doesn't have that date and time right there in the center.
Right. Okay.
And that screws them, because it still does have just the time, not the date, in the very top right hand corner. But Alec has, and he mentioned this to Frontier when he mentioned to him, he showed dozens of screenshots where, depending on how the lighting is or whatever, you can't read that time. It's obscured. Whereas the center one was in a dark block, so that no matter what the lighting is like, you can always see the date and time clearly.
Right, so when it pops up with the new not so lovely menu at the bottom, in that bottom center, we're talking like when you first dock.
Yes.
And obviously you've got the initial, you can refuel, you can launch your carrier services or that. It was on there. Because this is the kind of thing that, because
Go ahead.
Because it's not something that I would do normally. I'm not missing it. Or it's not something that I would necessarily look at, so I'm not missing it, which is why I had to ask the question, right. Good.
So yes, right now, if you land in the base game on that part that you're looking at where it shows the little refuel, repair, reload, go into the hangar, and then underneath it says carrier services and auto launch, and it has the name of the carrier. Right above where it has the name of the carrier, in the base game, if you were on a real station, if you were at like Jameson's, right above where it says Jameson's, it would have a dark block that had the date and the time listed right there, and that's what they need.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
not something that needs to be taken out.
UI changes are requested, I guess, for Buckyballers.
Yeah, and I mean it's an unintended consequence. It was a situation where that little change, oh crap. It's a sign of how everything, when Frontier does something, they have to be careful, because every change they make could lead to like, oh my god, I didn't even think about those guys need this for that. And it's like, okay. They're like, hey, we're going to streamline this. We're going to make it look better. We're going to make it whatever. And it's like, cool, but this was a problem. So I just wanted to get that out before we lost anybody, because I know it's a huge issue for Alec, and I just, out of respect to him, because he couldn't make it today, I wanted to bring it up.
Great.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for everything. Does anybody? I'm down to hang out as long as you guys want, but I get the feeling that some of the people have to get wrapping up here.
Yeah,
I've got one request to make while
Sure.
I've got all your attention, if that's okay.
No, it's not okay.
Right.
Okay.
Forget anything.
Player, you almost made me spit tea.
In our chat on our stream, we had a guy who has just joined Elite yesterday. Literally, he's that new.
Nice.
And I've got you lot all together. So can you just all of you say hello to Time for a Bleezy?
Hello.
Hello.
Time
Time for a Bleezy.
Hello.
Isn't that you lot are really friendly and helpful? Go with it.
I don't mean to,
obviously.
Yeah, it doesn't know me very well. Yeah.
I don't mean to brag, Time for a Bleezy, but I've been playing for at least a week more than you. So come look me up if you need it.
Brilliant.
Wonderful.
Right on, guys. Thank you so much for everybody for taking the time out to
Thanks everyone.
join in, and I hope you had a good time, and we will see you for the next one. There's going to be there'll be more of this as new sort of big updates and things happen, and things that are worth kind of talking about. And all of this is meant to be, look, we don't speak for everyone. We don't speak for the whole population. These are just our thoughts and things that come up, and we try to express ourselves in a positive manner, and we hope that people like it. On anything, on the whole range of things, opinions are going to differ on all sorts of stuff. So it's cool to like talk it out and see, you know, where people, what other smart, interesting people think, and then also me.
Great.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Saying nothing.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I'll close out my stream
thanks
separately.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, I'll go do that here as well.
Right on.
Thank you very much, guys.
There we go. I just jumped out of the Discord chat and just killed the overlay because now the recording thing is done. Okay, so that was the second Superfriendos roundtable, and I think it was quite nice. I really enjoyed it, and I know there was a ton of questions that we didn't manage to go over, and we tried to take as many of them. Most of them has been posted in the chat, but again we got a little short on time here towards the end. But many of the questions were also discussed at some point during the live stream, so there's a good chance if your questions weren't picked up that maybe we discussed it earlier in the live stream, so you can go and you can watch the video on demand version of this live stream when it's up, probably like a few hours after the stream. But while we just get in here to the last high grade of the day, where am I actually at with Imperial Shielding? 81, so with a little bit of luck, a small amount of luck, I'm gonna get everything I need to completely stock up on Imperial Shielding in this one. We'll see. But anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Should we just see what's in this last high grade? But no, as Kai said, of course, we are going to be doing more of these as news come out. We don't want to do them. We don't have an actual schedule for them. We do them more on an ad hoc basis kind of thing, like whenever there's a interesting topic to talk about. So instead of just spending 2 hours sit and talk about whatever, we're going to wait until there's some major news, some large changes, something interesting to talk about, then they will be planned again. Best way to keep yourself updated on when they will happen is either to subscribe to the channel and keep an eye on Hello Dave, that's being posted every Monday, which is like a news update on what's happening in Elite. Or you can join the Discord server, which there most likely is a link for in the chat. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure there will be in a second. Whoops, what do we have here? 3 Imperial Shielding. So, not enough. Great. Let's just get all my limpets out now. But anyway, really hope you enjoyed it. I hope we'll see some of you guys on Discord. The next scheduled live stream, let me just quickly jump over here. The next scheduled live stream is on Tuesday, where I think I'm gonna go back and build the snipers things that we did a few weeks. I did that a few weeks ago, where we begin to look into sniping ships. I have some tests I want to run, and I think I'm gonna do that on Tuesday. So I hope you will tune in on Tuesday. Live stream is gonna be at 7 o'clock in-game time, and as always, will be streamed here on YouTube and on Twitch. If you like the stream, please go down and like it. If you're over on Twitch, you can go ahead and click the follow button. You can click the subscribe button on YouTube. In the description, you will also find links for both Patreon if you want to support the channel on a monthly basis, or Streamlabs for one-time donations. I want to say a huge thank you to Thomas, who became a member during this live stream. Awesome. I didn't get to say thank you when it was actually happening because we were in the middle of the chat, but thank you if you're still around. And thank you to Don Galoro for monitoring the chats once again, and for collecting questions and making our Thomas is still there, great, and for making everything a lot easier for us. Yeah, 2.5 hour stream, so a little longer than first planned, but there was still some good topics to talk about. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this time. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, I will see you guys in space.